I survived 1,903 days in this hardcore Minecraft world with the focus on getting better at building, and I think this is the best stretch of building that I've ever done in this game. But if you didn't know, I do die at the end of this video just short of reaching day 2000. But I know people love their full movies, and I really wanted to condense these last 6 episodes into one big episode. So if you clicked on the video, make sure to leave it running in the background as it helps me out a ton, and maybe if you make it to the end of the video, you will see how I die. But let's get right into it. Welcome back to my hardcore Minecraft world, and welcome back to maybe the ugliest nether portal that's ever existed. Yeah, I've survived over 1,000 days and built all of this, and I can't even build another portal. So that changes today, as I'm trying to transform this giant cavern into maybe my best build that I've ever made in Minecraft. But this all starts by taking a trip up to the top of the nether. And I actually have everything I need to get on top of the nether in my inventory right now, so I'm gonna get started on it. First, I have to find the perfect spot to break bedrock. Okay, I found the block that I need. Just need to place ladders up here. So all I have to do is just go up to this block, right click with a pearl, and then right click again, and now we're out. I hear an endermite. I spawned an endermite with my pearl. So all I have to do is actually place a sideways piston on this block like that. You have to place 2 pieces of obsidian like that, a lever, 2 pieces of TNT, and then a trapdoor. And this is the same block. All I have to do is right click with that, get down here, and then place a piston on the side of this one. The easiest way to do this though is actually go into keybinds and change your right click, your right mouse button to like a thing on your keyboard, so you can pretty much just have a free auto clicker. We're using the lever very fast. Why? Oh my god, no. Why? No! Oh my god, dude. Why? And then why? And it didn't work. And I actually have an auto clicker installed on my computer. I'm just gonna use that instead. I mean, that seems effective enough. Right click, gonna turn it back on. We're trying it again. Get me down! Right click. Oh, it worked. Perfect. Okay. First try. Not everybody has to be good at Minecraft. You got so don't worry. Now where's our little friend at? Did he despawn? Dang, that's unfortunate. All my friends like to leave me, but we're up here. That's all that matters. Now this next part of the video is something that I'm dreading, and I really don't want to do it. But it's time to fix the iron farm because I broke it. I actually killed one of the villagers in here, so it's not even that it's broken, it's that it just won't work anymore because I killed one of the villagers. It wasn't out of any fit of rage, it was just an accident. I bonked one of them with a shovel. I tried to fix it, but the shovel decided it wanted to end one of these guys' life, and now I'm stuck with a nitwit and this not very smart guy either. I want to cover up that block, and I actually want to make these guys breed so we can get another villager in here, which means I need some carrots. But again, I mean, this is the weakest automatic iron farm there is, but this is not a bad design. I mean, what is happening over here? So now if I lock them up and don't show them the sunlight for a little bit until we get this thing figured out, should be good. Sounds like a daycare in here. They made 3 kids. Why did they make so many? Who wants to go on a little trip? So loud in there, and I look in there and there's just 3 kids. Little update, they made about 58 kids in 20 minutes, and one of the villagers died because they hit their head too hard. And we're not holding a funeral. I don't really care. I also need to get rid of these villagers. Everybody, look away. Look away. I might regret that. I might need those villagers. And once one of these guys dies, because I know it's going to happen. I began putting in a new iron farm design that would hopefully work better than the last one, but while I was transporting villagers to the new farm, there was a little accident. One of the villagers went down the roller coaster a little too fast and bumped his head a little too hard. But other than that, the building of the farm went pretty smooth, and hopefully this farm gives us better rates than the last one I had. Hey, it's working, and as long as this is running in the background for a little bit, that should give us all the iron that we need. So I just fixed the iron farm. The next thing to do in this video is actually to build a gold farm, because I need to make a bartering farm for Blackstone. And for that, I'm going to need a gold farm, which means I need turtle eggs, and these guys should be pretty happy consume this stuff. So happy that they try to make a child. I mean, that's exactly what I would do if I ate some seagrass. So I just gotta wait for this this fine lady to drop a little egg, and it did. Perfect. 2 eggs, 3 eggs. All I need is 1. I also need a little bit of glass, so I am just gonna destroy this beach again. So I'm smelting up a bunch of glass now. All I need is another stack, and I need a ton of obsidian. So I'm actually just gonna fly into the nether again, and I actually need to go to the end, which means I should probably link up the new end portal to the top of the nether. And boom, it should be linked now. And now it's time to just break some of this pillar and get 54 obsidian. Now I have all the obsidian I need and a few extra. And that's all the materials I need for this farm. And now with the glass fully smelted up, I can just make it all purple because it looks cool. And this is really all the materials that we need. So all that I really have to do is just go into the nether and find a place to actually set up this farm. I began clearing out a big room that works as a spawning platform for the gold farm, and then place another portal in the middle of the room so the zombified piglins that do spawn go through the portal and get transported to the killing chamber that we make later. It also helps to have 2 layers for spawning platforms, so I began clearing out another room above the last one. And now that I have this room completely filled out, I just need to make little 2x2 corners here, so any zombified piglin things with the crossbows will just despawn once they fall. And boom, we have those placed on every single corner now. Now it's time to put in some of the final touches of the farm, placing in that turtle egg that we collected later so they can get attracted to it, and then lighting the portal. And then I worked my way up to the nether roof so I can start on the killing chamber. But now I actually need to build up very, very far, like another 100 blocks. Now it's time to actually make the killing chamber, where I first just bridge out on some glass and then place a portal, which is pretty much just used as a way to get up and down to the farm. And then I started actually making the killing chamber area. For the other side, there's just another portal that's raised slightly in a very simple killing chamber. So now that that's done, I should be good to light this portal now and go through it without any trouble. So let's hope I'm right on that. Oh my god. Oh my. Let me fly away so these guys despawn real quick. That is what I was trying to avoid, but I was way too late and they didn't despawn because the chunk was loaded, I guess. Okay, they're all gone now. Now it was time to bridge up in the overworld, mirroring exactly what I did in the nether, which is used as a little highway for the zombified piglins. This removes them from the mob cap in the nether, which helps the rates of the farm. But with all that set up, that's pretty much it. I can run this farm, killing them myself. It gives over 300 blocks of gold an hour. So in that little bit of time, we have 8 gold blocks, which is pretty good. But I don't feel like sorting. Oh my god. I don't feel like picking up swords and stuff and sorting my inventory every single time I use the farm. So I have a design for an auto sorting system figured out. I just need a ton of hoppers, chests, and other pieces of redstone in order to make it. And now with everything in this shulker box and the stuff in my inventory, I do have enough materials to actually build this item sorter. So it's time to break some of the farm that I just created to put in a more efficient killing chamber and item sorting system. In order to put in the sorting system, I needed a bigger space underneath the farm, so I created a glass square and started making the auto sorter. Since redstone is pretty boring, I'm just going to get through this quickly. It's a pretty simple system that just sorts the gold nuggets, and rotten flesh for easier use. It's not the most efficient system, but it does the job. And now the farm is up and running, and it's not like perfect, the storage contraption that I made, because a lot of the drops just don't go through the hoppers fast enough. You still kind of have to manually throw all the swords out and burn them because they're very annoying. Oh, the chicken, no. But this is still a very, very fast gold farm. It should make like 300 blocks an hour if you actually want to sit here and listen to this for an hour. I didn't want to sit there for an hour listening to all the death sounds, so I went back home and destroyed the beacon because I want to collect materials for this build. Because so far in this episode, I've destroyed bedrock to get on the nether roof, and I've made a very efficient gold farm for future piglin trading. But I want to head over to the mines because I'm going to need well over 8,000 cobbled deep slate for this build alone. So I spent a ton of time in the mines collecting cobbled deep slate, and because this project is so massive, the resource grind didn't stop there, as I would also need well over 3 shulker boxes full of pale oak in order to complete this build. So I spent a good amount of time collecting pale oak, and I know wombats aren't necessarily water creatures, but I also took a trip to the ocean to get some black dye, because I need a ton of black candles and black stained glass, but I also need a ton of black stone, so I went over and destroyed an entire bastion. Finally, I needed a light source block, so I decided to go to the swamp to breed up some frogs to collect some frog lights. Okay, they finally did it. Oh my god. So I spent a good amount of time waiting for some frog spawn to hatch some tadpoles so I can get some frogs to breed. Then I took them back home and made a little chamber for them to grow up into frogs eventually. And then I flew over to where I wanted to create the entrance of the nether portal. So the entrance of this nether portal will go right here, which means I have to dig out a pretty big space right here to start, and then there's going to be a staircase that goes very, very far down. So it's time to do more mining. I thought I was done with the mining from the river last video, but it's time to do a little bit more. But I'm not going to be mining right away because I want to create the entrance of this nether portal, which is just going to be a pretty big doorway that almost looks like an old dwarven city entrance, similar to the dwarven gate that I made. And then I went down and created the beacon because I'm going to need to clear out a huge hallway that goes down into a big cavern. So it's going to require a ton of block breaking. But while I was breaking the blocks, I also started to make the staircase that will go down into this cavern. And the staircase is also in a big cave. So I just used cobbled deep slate and the pale oak that we collected to create these cave walls with some blackstone and tuff for the actual foundation and staircase of the build. And my main goal right now is to build a hallway big enough to fly in and out of that goes down super far into the ground that will eventually open up into a big room. But right now I have the main entrance and I like the way it turned out. But if you're wondering where the end goal for the staircase is, this is the cavern we're trying to reach and it's pretty far down. And now after all that work, we have kind of the entrance done. There is going to be these on this side. I just don't feel like making them right now. I don't have the iron to spare to make all this right now, so I'm gonna wait. But outside of the very obstructive beacon beam, and there is some glow lichen in, this is really what the vibe is going to be like going all the way down. And it's going to curve and go this way now, which just means I'm going to have to pretty much dig in a straight line for, I don't even know, maybe 50 blocks, maybe a little bit more than that. So let me just continue digging and continue pushing this entire build pretty much under the river. Like right here, it's going to curve and then the staircase is going to go down again. And as you go through these little pillars, there is a huge space laid out for even more pillars and even more of this kind of dark cave texture that goes through. And it's going to look so nice once this is all done. You see, there's a little bit of a curve right here. This little stone bit is the last pillar, and then it's just going to go down, and there's going to be a big staircase, a massive staircase that goes down and then curves again into a huge cavern that is already there. But I'm very, very excited. I'm going to texture up this hallway as much as I can with the materials that I have, and then I'll be back. With the shape of the area cleared out, it's time for me to go through the entire hallway and add both the pillars and the cave in between the pillars to create a dark fantasy style hallway. I want this area to feel grand and important, but also mysterious at the same time, almost like it's leading down to something scary or sinister like another portal, which it is. So I wanted to use the dark blackstone blocks to serve as the pillars with the deep slate and pale oak for the walls, as it's a slightly lighter block, and the tough floor as I toned down from the walls, so I think the blocks mesh together super well and create this dark, evil looking place. This area could use some further decorating, so feel free to give me some ideas in the comments, and also feel free to like and subscribe because projects like this take a ton of time, and the support on the channel helps me keep going and pushing these videos out as soon as I can. But with all the blocks placed, the hallway is in and it looks so good. And minus like 4 chains and some candles, this hallway is pretty much finished. But this hallway is very, very cool. I might end up texturing it up with some like more pale moss bits and stuff like the hanging, but I think it looks very cool so far. And I kind of just went through this as quickly as I can. It's nice to feel like I have made any sort of progress on this video because it's a little bit stressful, the amount of materials that I need to work on this project. But honestly, I think I'm going through a lot less resources than I thought I would be. I mean, we still have so much cobble deep slate in here. Still a pretty good amount of blackstone and everything. I mean, a pretty good amount of pale oak as well. But I think I'm just going to continue this hallway as far as I can. And I should be able to go pretty far. It's just going to go straight down. There's going to be a hallway straight down, but it's going to look so cool. It's just going to be this exact same texturing. But ow. Oh my god. 2 hearts. I need to go and mend up my tools because they're very, very broken. I spent time at the Enderman XP farm to mend up my tools before diving right back into the project. I have a ton of blocks to break and I want to push the staircase down as quickly as I can. The scale of the project ended up being way bigger than initially planned, and I don't want the staircase to be the main focus of the build, so there's not a ton going on here. There's just a ton of block breaking and placing of blocks, of course, as this section took close to an hour. I've done a pretty good amount of this, and it's starting to look really, really nice, but I ran into a cave. This was intentional, but if I fly around, there's a lot of creatures in here, a lot of mobs. So I am going to have to go through with a ton of torches and light that whole area up. Thankfully, I have like 5 stacks of torches, so I'm just going to go through and light this cave up. After grabbing a whole bunch of torches, I ran around the cave, spamming them in as many areas as needed so mobs wouldn't spawn and ruin my day. Luckily, there is a mod that maps out what blocks are spawnable for mobs, so I just have to run around the cave and make sure the numbers show up as green, which means mobs can't spawn there anymore because the light level is above 0. This process took a lot longer than you would think, but the time lapse of me lighting up the cave does look pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure this entire cave is lit up. I mean, there's still some mobs down there. Once we leave the chunks, they'll all disappear. But the plan is to make this staircase curve this way. And then there's going to be a giant room right here with some pillars. And then there's going to be like a throne. And then this space that's filled out is going to be a nice glassy fog thing. That's where the actual portal is going to be. And it'll be easier to actually tell or understand the whole plan once I've actually got the staircase in. But that is the next step, is to work the staircase even further down. See if I can make this. Nope. Now that I have the cave lit up, I'm ready to push the staircase down more. But first, I needed more materials, so I grabbed the beacon and took it over to the tough and deep slate mine so I can grab enough tough for the actual stairs. And after crafting up some more tough stairs, I was ready to continue the build. Instead of clearing the space out and then placing blocks, I just cleared it out layer by layer, while also building the staircase and pillars for each layer. So when I finally reached the bottom layer, everything above me was already placed in. And minus the occasional witch or creeper attack, this went pretty smooth. So I'm not completely done with this hallway thing. As you can see, it kind of ends and is spawning a lot of mobs. Oh my god. I need to light this area up. But what I was trying to say is I ran out of blackstone, and I also need crying obsidian, which means I think it's time to make a bartering farm. So I ran around my very unorganized world and collected the materials for a simple bartering farm so I can produce more materials for this project. I have most of the materials I need for the farm, but one thing I need a lot of is pumpkins, specifically the carved version, and then collect all of them. I'm going to need a lot of pumpkins for this farm, so I'm just going to go and fly around and look, more pumpkins. And that patch of pumpkins left me one short. One short. I need one more. That's actually kind of crazy. You want something, bro? You want something, dog? What's up? Whoa. I don't know, man. I'm in the presence of an alpha male. I don't know if I should be over here. Better leave. Anyways, there's a patch of pumpkins right here. So, I'm good. Just need one of them. Sorry, buddy. This is pretty cool, though. It gave me an excuse to, like, explore parts of the world that I otherwise haven't really touched. And this world is beautiful. I absolutely love exploring it. Oh my, that is ugly. That's terrible. I also needed some scaffolding, so I took a trip over to the jungle and made some scaffolding. And actually, while I'm flying back home, I can come back over here because I need another turtle egg. I don't know where I put the other one for the gold farm, but I do need another one from these guys. These guys look a little lonely, so I'm just gonna give them some seagrass and let them do their thing. He just got some and dipped. Oh my! Is one of them gonna lay like an egg at some point? Do you need help? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. You're glitching out, dude. Did I like mess with the matrix or something? What is it? What's happening? Oh my! I think I broke the game. Oh my god, finally. Hey. And you know what? You can just have your children, okay? I just need your one. That's all I need. Now I just need to figure out a spot to put this bartering farm. You know what? This seems like a good spot to do it. So I'm just going to do it right here. Need to make sure my feet are at 117, and they are. Now I just need to make a little 8x5 room. Now I just need to go over to a corner, break a block like this, and then put a barrel down like that with a hopper facing into it and then a dispenser facing up. And I think I can give myself one more block of room here as well. But now we have this. This is going to be like a shulker box unloader, I think. But I'm going to need another hopper, a repeater, and then a comparator just like that. But I actually forgot pistons. I need a couple pistons and I forgot to bring them. So let me just test this. I think if you load this up with shulker boxes like that, and then actually if you grab an empty one like this, and then put something in it and then close it, it'll break it and place a new one. And this is a pretty key mechanic of this automatic farm, because you're going to get so many materials at once that you literally just sit here and then put all the materials in there. But we'll get to that later, I guess. Now it was time for me to make the bartering station, which is a little chamber where 128 piglins sit with pumpkins on their heads and throw me materials. This is a simple setup. This farm is so overpowered, it's crazy. After finishing the trading chamber, I worked up to the top of the farm, which is just a space to actually spawn the piglins in, with warped fungus on the edges to get rid of hoglins, and soul torches to get the piglins in the farm, with a dispenser that is always running, so the piglins that do make their way into the farm get a pumpkin on their head and can't despawn. I then made my way to the top of the nether and built up high above the sky, or roof or whatever, and AFK'd for a very long time so I can populate the farm. This system works so well, but I don't, because I forgot to close the trapdoor, so instead of making their way into the farm, they just roam around up there, which is not what I want. Now hopefully this was enough time for all of the pumpkins to be dispensed onto the thingies, guys. Oh, we seem to have a little problem. Oh my, that is so many. Oh my god. I might have to honestly kill all of them and then restart. But I would have to AFK for another 30 minutes, and I don't want to. I didn't want to, but I did it anyways. Okay, it definitely hasn't been 30 minutes this time, but I'm getting impatient. I mean, sitting up here and listening to a Sabrina Carpenter is nice, but I want to get on with this video, okay? I have to be the dumbest Minecraft player. I forgot to do the trapdoor. I forgot to open it. At least all of the pumpkins are gone, but I just did the exact same thing I did the first time. And right now, I'm just going to slowly let them in. If they all fall in the middle, they'll die to entity cramming. The scaffolding prevents that, so if I just put them in waves, it should be fine. Okay, they're all in there. This worked out perfectly, so I think I can just remove this actually, and then put up a piece of glass there just so nothing else gets in here. And I have an okay amount of gold. It's nothing crazy. We'll see how much we get from this little bit right here. Okay, this should be pretty simple. You just open up this trapdoor like this, and then throw all of the gold in there. Then do this, and it should just load up my inventory after a few seconds. Just kind of hold shift and it should all just pile up into here. And that is already so much stuff. Oh my god, this is a crazy farm. Because this farm is so overpowered, I wanted to run it a bunch. So I spent time AFKing the gold farm and ran the bartering farm as much as I possibly could. Now, after that little bartering and gold farm session, we have a full shulker box of blackstone, a half shulker box of blackstone, and we got a ton of obsidian and a ton of crying obsidian. This is not enough, but it'll be definitely enough for now. So I'm just going to get back to what I was doing before. And after many hours of building and many creeper attacks, I have finally pushed the entire staircase going all the way down here. And you can also see how much terraforming I have to do. I didn't realize I had this much terraforming to do. It's like 10 layers of stone that I have to push back. But it's already starting to look really, really cool. But I'll turn Fulbright on just to get a better look. And I really like the detailing that I put into these towers. It's not much, but I think it creates enough shape that it just makes it look really, really nice. But the grind is not over because I have to push this stone layer back, like I was saying. So I'm just going to go through and terraform this so I can start on the next actual building phase of the project. With the haste 2 beacon next to me, this section should go by pretty quickly though. I didn't want that to happen. After the creeper attack, I began lowering this section of the cave down layer by layer until I ran out of durability on both of my pickaxes. And I know it's hard to tell, but I've done a really, really good amount of terraforming here. I've done about half the room up to there. It's going to be pushed back to about where the edge of that wall is. Well, I just got rudely interrupted by the power going out. This is the next day, and I don't remember what I was saying. But I have to repair my tools in order to finish the rest, and then we can put the floor in. But right now, I need to repair my tools and also get food, because I'm very low on food right now. Well, so watch these elytra skills. Oh my god, dude, that was so smooth. I sacrificed the souls of hundreds of endermen to repair my pickaxes, and then I began working on the rest of the terraforming for this part of the project. This floor design is pretty simple though. It just kind of does something like this with 3. I'm gonna remove the torch real quick. Just goes like a little circle. I guess it's not a circle. It's kind of like a diamond or like a square, but it just looks like a circle on the ground. And then there's gonna be like a line of deep slate that goes right here. And then there's gonna be another circle. And I'm just gonna continue doing this pattern on the floor. But I'm also gonna mix in some cobble deep slate in here a little bit. Like that, I think, and it just will give it a little bit more texture. And then I'm just going to continue going around this design with some tuff like that, and then also mixing in a little bit of pale moss in here. So let me just continue doing this pattern through the entire room. But you can actually see the design of the room taking shape, and it looks old, which is the exact thing and style that I'm going for. But I'm going to have to go get some more tuff and pale moss blocks. Oh my god. Ow. Ow. Oh my. Mistakes were made. Well, that'll be the last time I try to do that. But it's back over to the mine so I can get some more tuff. There's no way that just popped a totem. There's no way. I literally, okay, you guys saw it. I touched the ground so lightly. I touched the ground so light. I'm gonna float gently down here, okay? I don't want to pop another totem. I only have 1 more after this. Look here, Wombat's collecting more materials. Yes, the most exciting thing in this world. But Wombat also needs tough and pale moss blocks, so I destroyed this plains biome to collect the materials I needed for the floor. But nobody was living in this plains biome anyways, so it's fine. And then I went back underground and finished up the floor with the tough and pale moss that I collected. After the floor was finished, I added in some deep slate stairs to the sides of the build, which gave it this grand feeling and adds a bit more interest and height variety to the room. With the stairs slowly being added in, you can see the scale of this room starting to take shape, and after I added in the stairs, I also laid out the groundwork for a bunch more pillars. Now the floor is done, the design and texturing is in. I also added these stairs that go up to here, and I also decided to just put in the outline for some of the pillars that are going to be in the room. You can see there's what? There's going to be one right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pillars. And then there's going to be a couple back here as well. This is where the actual portal is going to be. But before I do anything involving the pillars or the actual shape of the room, I want to go through, and you can see there's these little spots where there's no stairs or anything. I actually want to add in some of these things. Stalactites, thingy bingy. I want to add like little rocks here in the ground to make it look like maybe some parts are collapsed or something like that. So I'm just going to go through and add in a few rocks. So there the first rock is in, and this is kind of what I have in mind for the actual design of them. So I'm just going to go through the room and add in as many as I have laid out in this room. And now I've added in a decent amount of rocks. They're mostly on this side of the room. I didn't add too many of them. I didn't want to overdo it, and I feel like it does a good job. This one is here. It's kind of there because there was originally this dripstone that went all the way down, so I just put it there because I wanted to keep it there. But with these details in place, I'm starting to feel like I'm making some real progress. But the next step, I think, is going to be the towers. I'm going to do the towers going up on every single side. I'm going to try to complete that first before I do anything else. The buttering farm produced enough blackstone to get started on the pillars, so I worked up with the blackstone bricks and then used blackstone brick stairs and walls to add some depth to these towers so they're not super flat and boring. And I did this on every side of the tower for the bottom. After working up with more blackstone, I added in walls to the sides of the tower for further detail as well, and then worked up even further while adding in some very slight detail, as I think the basic details added into these towers is enough for me. And you will notice throughout this build that there's not too much texture variety or detail added into a lot of the bits, and I think the reason for that is the room is just going to be so dark that I don't think it's super necessary. But with that first tower in, I created an additional 3 towers on the right side. And I have an additional 4 towers in, and a little friend up there, but I've also pretty much ran out of blackstone, which means I'm gonna have to go and just get some more of that. But while I'm getting blackstone, I actually want to do something else as well, just to get it out of the way. There they are. I want to breed up a bunch of froggies, and I really don't know how I'm going to do this, to be honest. I first wanted to expand the glass enclosure that they were in to give them room to breed, because I need a lot of frogs. I'll make these guys breed real quick. They should add frog legs to Minecraft so I can eat these guys. I need some iron in order to make a bucket. And I'm also going to start collecting the materials to make this farm. Luckily, I'm smelting up a ton of glass, so I'm just going to use that. Going to make a couple buckets. Hopefully that's enough. That's a lot of glass. With a little bit of time spent collecting materials for the farm, this should be enough to actually begin the farm. And now between these two shulker boxes, I have every material I need to actually build the farm. Now, in order to make this easier on myself, I want to use leads, but I really don't know where I have leads. I found some leads because I wanted to get these guys attached to a fence post, and maybe if they had more room, they would produce their frog spawn because they weren't really cooperating that much. So let me remove the glass, and maybe this will help if they have more room. Oh, okay, that works. Now, in the meantime, I'm just going to lead them to this post. Don't run away from me. And I'm just going to do this as many times as I can. I'm trying to get 5 of each frog. While I waited for the frog spawn to hatch a tadpole, I wanted to get a head start on the froglight farm, so I went over to the nether roof to build up the farm. First, I have to go to a basalt delta, which I think there's one this way. Yeah, there's a basalt delta right here. So if I make the farm about right here, it should be good. This is pretty far from the other farms, but it'll make it more efficient if it is far away. Instead of talking about redstone because I find it pretty boring, I am just going to talk about why I need frog lights. I need frog lights because I want to make a stained glass fog effect for what the nether portal is going to be. And for that, you need a light source block. And that light source block for me was just going to be frog lights. So I'm making this farm that is pretty effective in order to give me frog lights because, well, I just think the fog effect looks cool. After I built up some of the farm, I took a trip back to the overworld to check on the frogs. This is a lot more tadpoles than I thought there would be. Oh my god, there's so many. Just get in my bucket, please. There are too many of you fellas in here. I'm gonna make a chest real quick. And that's 13. That's actually perfect. I have enough for 5 of each variant of frog. So I can just remove this glass. There is no way they're trying to actually traverse through the river just to get over here. Oh my god. With the tadpoles and buckets, I made a space for 5 of the temperate frog variant and a space on the mountain for the cold frog variant as well. And with both spaces created, I AFK'd and let the tadpoles grow up into frogs so we can transport them to the farm that I made. Oh, it's getting packed in here. There's a lot of frogs. Now the next step is to make a nether portal here. Like that. Be quiet, dude. Oh my god. But anyways, I'm going to light this. And instead of going through it right away, I'm going to go back into the nether real quick. If I put a portal here, they should just come out of this portal. Yeah, there we go. This is perfect. With the frogs grown up, I transported them from the chamber all the way into the nether and then slowly dragged them through the nether on top of the bedrock all the way over to the farm, which was, I think, hundreds of blocks away. This took a while, but I then put them in the farm, and then I went over to the desert and made a similar chamber to the last one that I made for the warm variant of frog as well. And once they were grown up, I also transported them into the nether and back all the way over to the farm. And forgot to mention that I also put in some of the temperate frogs in there as well. And after that, it was time to just complete the farm, which was just some glass on top with some extra added bits so other mobs wouldn't spawn in. And I put some iron golems in the middle and AFK'd the farm for about an hour. And it gave me a ton of materials for future use. After I built the frog farm, I went to go AFK the gold farm so I could use the bartering farm to get blackstone, which was the original task at hand. But I AFK'd the farm while I made breakfast, and I used an auto clicker that clicked every second, so I didn't have to sit at my computer, which was a serious problem as I started to starve. And while I was starving, I was still away from my computer, so a few seconds later and I could possibly die, but my girlfriend actually came in and paused my game. So my girlfriend completely saved this video and this world. So thank you, girlfriend. I did not die, but I came seconds away from dying, like literally seconds. The world almost ended. And because I've already popped 3 totems in this video, I ran the totem farm for a little bit, and then I ran the piglin bartering farm, and it gave me enough blackstone to finish the pillars on the other side of the room. And these pillars are nothing special, as they are pretty much a direct copy of every single one that I've already made so far. And now I have most of the towers in place, but you can see there's a big section right here in the middle of the room that doesn't have anything in it. There's this big empty space here, and that's because there's actually a throne right here in the middle of the room with a couple of towers behind it, and I want to work on this section because I think it's one of my favorite parts of the entire build. But for this, I'm going to need some stained glass, and this is not a lot, but I think it might be enough. I'm also going to need some candles though, and I think I left those up here. Nope, they were down here the whole time. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is put in a couple of towers right here. These two towers are the exact same as the other ones I built so far, but they have a little bit more character, as I'm trying to add a bunch of little cracks of crying obsidian going through the tower, almost like the energy of the nether portal is taking over some of them, which leads me into the lore of this entire place. I wanted to make it look like there was an ancient civilization here for a very long time that maybe discovered the nether portal. They built an entire city attached to the portal only to die off because they tried to harness the power of the portal but failed. And they doomed their entire population because of it, which is exactly why I wanted the crying obsidian to symbolize maybe the power of the portal spreading down the towers and through the room. And now with these two towers completed, I want to create a throne right here, and I want to create an elevated platform as well using some tuff. And I was thinking for the base of this platform, it can be about 9 blocks wide. So just like that, and then I want to go up again using some full blocks to create a very slight slope here. And then I want to go up with some of the chiseled, polished blackstone on each side, kind of going like that. And then I wanted to put some walls on top of that so we can do the same thing we did up there with the kind of like torch look that I like. And I just think it looks really, really cool, especially lighting up like a throne that's going to be right here. But this will just continue going up with some slabs on each side. And while we're up here, instead of going around with just tuff, I actually want to add in a little bit of texture here with just some normal deep slate like this, kind of like what we did on the ground up there. So it'll do something like that. And then the actual throne is about 3 blocks wide like that. And then for the base, I want to use some blackstone stairs and then some normal blackstone like that. And this will be the seat, and then this will be kind of like the arms of the chair or throne. And then it'll go around with 1 layer of blackstone, and then it'll go up on each side like this with another 4 blocks, and then it'll go up by 2 blocks to kind of have this like seat kind of look. You know, it's a pretty thick throne, I guess, but I want to close this off with a block up there and then use some more walls. And now I want to go around and add more walls to the sides of the chair, and I think it looks really, really cool. I might actually go through here and change the seat, and you know, I don't know if that looks better, but I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. And with the base of the throne in place, I put some black candles on top of chains to give the throne a more evil look, and I really, really like the throne. But I have an idea for something to put right here. It's like a purple crystal that powers the nether portal, maybe, which also explains why there's crying obsidian right here. So I'm going to build that real quick, just using a simple time lapse. And this crystal took almost no time to build, but it looks so cool with shaders on. And I used a mix of candles for some like particle effects and some glass, and I think it's a really cool effect that it gives off. I think this will be much more noticeable once there's actually a background, like once I actually continue the cave. But speaking of cave walls, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the walls of the cave and go all the way this way and meet up right here. With the other details of the room finished, I started building up the cave walls using the mix of materials that I used for the hallway, this time just adding in a little bit of deep slate tile. I also didn't want this room to feel like the ending of this place, so I added in some doorways with black concrete to make it look like they could lead somewhere else. And maybe at some point they will, but for now they're just for your imagination. But it's pretty crazy how much of a difference it makes to the room once you add in the walls and a little bit of the ceiling. I mean, this place looks so cool now. And this is how much I could finish before I ran out of cobbled deep slate. I don't have any more cobbled deep slate in any of these chests. Now there might be some cobbled deep slate. Oh my god, dude. Flint and steel. Yeah, there's actually a decent amount in here. But this just means I'm going to have to go on a little mining adventure and get some more cobbled deep slate. So here I am down in the mines collecting some more deep slate for the last time in this episode, and then I'm jumping right back into the cave walls, creating more doorways and also creating cracks of crying obsidian in the walls, as this is something I did in my last nether portal build in the world that I didn't record on YouTube, and I died in that world. So I'm going all out on every concept that I have in this video, and I think it's come together pretty nicely so far. Now with the final tower of this room in and the rest of the wall and ceiling placed in for this section, all I have to do is add in a couple more towers. I want some stained glass fog effect right here and then the actual nether portal. But I'm tired of avoiding creepers and skeletons. The zombies are fine, but the creepers and skeletons really annoy me. So what I'm going to do is actually create another farm, a glow lichen farm. And glow lichen farms seem really easy. I think I just need some basic redstone, a pair of shears, and just, I think that's really about it. After gathering up the simple redstone, I began building this very, very simple glow lichen farm with just a few pieces of redstone, put the glow lichen in, enchanted up some shears, and just ran it for a few minutes, and it gave me so much glow lichen. And I went through all of the bone meal. That gave me a ton of glow lichen. I mean, that is so much. Now that I have that glow lichen in though, I'm just going to place it in throughout the entire cave. And so I began placing glow lichen throughout the entire cave, just on the walls and ceiling in places that would light up enough so mobs could not spawn in. And you would think this wouldn't take that long. This took almost an hour to do the entire cave. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous how long this took. But it's time to put the amount of time spent placing glow lichen behind me, because I want to start putting in a glass fog effect right where the portal is going to be. So I collected a ton of materials in order to do this, and then I started placing in a path that would eventually lead into the portal using just a mix of cobbled deep slate and some blackstone as well. And this bridge is inspired a lot by the Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings, because I just think it fits this vibe very well and looks so cool. And while I was making the bridge, I also laid out the foundation for where the fog effect would be in the room. With the outline done, I want to get started on the glass fog effect for the floor, but I kind of want to remove this lava first. Probably should have done this before I started working on this room, but you know, it's cool. It looks nice. There we go. Ow. The cool thing about the way I've set up this whole portal thing is that I don't have to break all of this. I have to break a little bit of the floor, but I've laid this area out perfectly, so there's not as much block breaking. But there is still a little bit of block breaking because I have to make this entire floor underneath here the frog lights that I collected. So I'm going to make sure the floor is at this level. Because the area was already previously laid out above me, all I have to do is just follow that outline and break every single block to the layer that I would need in order to place the frog lights. Which reminds me to actually explain why I'm placing frog lights. Because you need so many layers of stained glass to create a fog effect, the frog lights at the bottom will just illuminate the glass enough so you can actually tell that there is fog. So this is necessary to put at the bottom. And this part is done. It's very bright down here, but there is one thing that I forgot to grab, and that is gray carpet. I use black carpet in the creative copy, but I have so much light gray wool and light gray carpet already made that I'm just going to see if that works. Hopefully I don't have like 20 extra stacks of light gray carpet, because I don't know what to do with all this if I have extra. I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of extra carpet after this. Yep, I have about 58 extra stacks of light gray carpet. Oops. But now it's time to place down both of these shulker boxes and replace the light gray wool with black stained glass, which is the main glass color that I'm going to do for this. And I can just go ahead and place this on top of every piece of carpet down here. And because I had the area of the carpet already laid out and done, it was super easy to just place glass on top of the already existing layer underneath it. But I had to do this 10 times for each side, which totaled up to about 4,000 stained glass, which is a lot, and it took a lot of time to collect all that, and it paid off. This room looks so cool now with this fog effect in. But I wasn't done, because I had to bring the blackstone and deep slate outline all the way down to where the frog lights were on the floor, but the fog looks like it goes super deep into the floor now, which is exactly what I was going for. And now we have the stained foggy glass effect thing, which is really, really cool. I've never done this in a Minecraft world, and I think I really like the use case for it. But now it's time to build up a couple more of these towers and then complete the cave wall thing up to here, and then I can finally get started on another portal. And I'm just gonna have to hope that this is enough cobble deep slate to finish this, but I highly doubt it will be enough. But I'm just gonna grab the materials I need to build these towers and the walls, and I can get started on the next part of the project. And now I'm gonna start entering the final stretch of building for this room, where I just put in this first tower on the right using the same exact concept I used where the throne is, and I added in another tower on the left doing the exact same thing as well, with a lot of crying obsidian cracks going down it. And then I just started bringing up the cave with a ton of crying obsidian in the walls, because this is where the portal is going to be. I want this area to feel like the portal is spreading throughout the entire room. But then I just started working on the portal frame, which out of all the builds I've ever made in Minecraft, I think this is my absolute favorite. It looks so good. It is finally done after many weeks of building. I mean, I've literally moved. I've moved in real life. That's how long this has taken. I've done so much, and it looks so good. I mean, this is my favorite build of all time. It's finally time to light up this portal after many, many weeks. Oh my god. Let me just step back. It looks so cool in here. And let me just turn off full bright just to get the real vibe of the room. It should be mob proof. Never mind. Need more glow lichen over here. Alright, buddy. I'm trying to give a nice tour. One without monsters. And you, sir, are a monster. Okay. But it looks so cool in here. Hey, we already have a visitor. We already have somebody in here. This is definitely my best build of all time. It just, I don't even know how many, like, I can't even express, like, how much I love this specific room right here. But I am not done. I'm not done at all. You see there's a big hole in the ceiling? Well, that's gonna have to be pushed all the way up to the surface. All the way up. Which explains why there's also a hole right here, as I have an idea. This place is super dark, and what I want to do is actually add some natural skylight right here by removing this entire area and making it accessible to the overworld instead of this cave, which would also make it easy to fly down here, and would give me an excuse to put a little patch of grass right here or some greenery. So because I never want to be done with this project and video, I'm going to bring that land down all the way. The view from up here is amazing, and honestly, it's going to look better once there's less light coming through, because I think it being so dark looks a lot better, but because there is no trees or anything blocking the sunlight, it's just going to come through super bright. But now the last step for me in this video is to fish. And actually, before I fish, I think I'm going to destroy this nether portal. I mean, it's about time. So it took some time to destroy this very old, ugly nether portal that was above the river, and if you don't know by now, I fish at the end of every single episode. I catch an enchanted book, and I name it after one of your guys' submissions. So go to the form in the description and submit a book name. And I caught the enchanted book very quickly. It is an efficiency 3 book. And I'm going to grab the book from last episode and replace this one up here and name this book. Oops. Oh, shit. And the book name for this episode is From Nighthawk. It says, I fell in love with your custom trees. I shortened the actual response because it didn't fit on the book. So thank you, Nighthawk, for submitting it. I hope you don't mind the edit. But this is going to go right into the library that doesn't have a door because a zombie decided it wanted to come in. And boom, it's going to go right there. So if you want to name the book for this episode, it is right here. And you can always be a permanent part of the world and this library, and eventually a big library. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a long process. There's been a lot going on in my life, so I'm sorry this video took so long to produce and for it to come out, but I think it came out so nice, and this is one of my favorite builds of all time. There's a torch down here. Okay. But I'll see you guys in the next episode. I've officially survived 1,242 days in this hardcore Minecraft world. And you'd think after that much time in one world, you'd have some sort of storage system going on. Well, I don't. I have a bit of a problem here. I have chest monsters for literally everything I have ever built in my world. So today, I plan on fixing part of that problem by making a functional mining city with mass storage for all of the stone type blocks in my world. But the first step in this video isn't actually to start on the project, it's actually to make a food farm because I need food. Because yeah, that's another problem. I don't have any more cows. I've just killed them, and I don't really think this is going to do it. I'm going to create an automatic food source. And I specifically want an automatic hoglin farm to give me all the pork chops I will ever need. First, I need to go to a nether waste biome, and I don't remember which direction it is. So let me think. I think it's just this way. I think I said nether waste, I meant crimson forest, and I'm in one right now, so this will be a good spot for the farm. Now that I have a place picked out, it's time to start building the farm, which starts out by, of course, laying out an area big enough for hoglins to spawn, which is why I'm creating a 13 by 13 stone square, which is where all of the hoglins' hopes and dreams start, and also die. Now I have to replace some building blocks with dirt blocks. Now with that in place, I need to get some fences, and I need to place warped fungus with a fence on top of it on every single corner or every single dirt block. And now I need to add a little temporary wall right here with some trapdoors on the top and bottom with a few more on this side as well. Now I need a couple of blocks on either side of those trapdoors, and I need to put slabs on top of those blocks. And now I can actually just plop down here and place a few slabs like that with 2 layers of building blocks going down. And I think this will be the killing chamber. Now I need a couple of chests right here with 4 more just there. And I think I can replace this right here with some slabs so I can open this chest like that. Now I just need to connect the chest with hoppers with some more hoppers for the collection chamber. I need to add a few slabs to it because I think this just makes the hoglins actually fall into the chamber because they're so big. I don't know, maybe they're pathfinding. I don't know. I'm just building the farm. I'm watching a tutorial. But now I think all I have to do is add some trap doors onto the hoppers with a lava bucket on top of them. And now the final step is to place in a ton of torches. And there we go. That should be the final touch. And now that I'm up here, they should be spawning, but it doesn't seem like they are. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. I made this entire farm in the nether waste biome. I'm gonna have to completely remake the farm. Why? Why am I so stupid? I don't know how long I ran this farm for, but it should give me a pretty good amount of food. Let's see. This farm's crazy overpowered. Oh my god. I don't think I ran it for that long at all. Maybe like 10 minutes, if that. And I already have so much food. So now I can actually get into the main purpose of this video, which is a mining village. So I'm going to go back home and get started on the material gathering process. I just cannot get over how cool this build is. Definitely one of my favorites. And I think this is growing on me. It'll look better once it's decorated and stuff. I just didn't have time to do it last episode. But a lot of people liked this like skylight thing, and you know what? I think it's growing on me. But if you haven't watched the episode of me building that, go watch it. It's a pretty good episode. It's pretty good. But now I can show you guys exactly what I'm going to be doing today. And this whole video is going to be in this region right here. And I'm sure you can tell there's a lot of trees over here, which means I'm going to have to remove a ton of trees in order to get started on this project. And a ton of trees it was. I had to remove a pretty big section of this forest, but I did this on a live stream and it made it go by a little bit quicker. But I went over to a basalt delta because I need a ton of basalt for this episode because I am experimenting with block palettes today. I want to use blocks that I don't normally use in ways that I don't normally use them. But I also went over to my chest monster and fixed it up a little bit on stream as well. And the reason there's so much flashback footage right now is because I am stupid and I completely forgot to remove the stream overlay when I was recording OBS footage. So that's why there's so much flashback footage, but enjoy me gathering materials for a few hours with flashback footage. At least it looks cool, you know, but I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm not good at YouTube. I'm just stupid, okay? But if you want to become a member of this poorly run YouTube channel, there is 2 tiers, pink sheep and white sheep. If you want early access to videos, if you want world downloads, become a member and you'll get access to these member-specific perks. But I do have a ton of the materials already gathered for this project. And with the forest destroyed, it gave me a ton of spruce, which was good because I needed over 700 spruce trapdoors. I just crafted 11 stacks of spruce trapdoors. Oh my god. But I wasn't done gathering materials because I would also need a ton of tough and deep slate. Usually when it comes to gathering materials, I do it slowly over time, but today I'm trying to get the material gathering process done before I even place a single block. If you didn't know, I use the Lightmatica mod, which blueprints the entire build and also tells you exactly what blocks you need to the precise amount, which was extremely helpful for today's episode, especially because I needed 1 pale oak button. I mean, why? Why is that there? In all seriousness, this mod is extremely helpful though, because instead of just going back and forth and gathering materials, you know exactly what you have checked off before you even start building, which just makes the process go by way faster. Now that I have a bunch of copper smelting up, there is 1 block I need a ton of in this video, and that is moss. So I am going to make a moss farm. And for this farm, I know I'm going to need a decent amount of glass, and I'm hoping I have some down here. And I do. I actually have a ton of glass down here. With the glass already out of the way, it's time to craft down the rest of the materials I would need to build this automatic moss farm. Now I have most of the materials for the farm. All I need is a couple of water buckets. Luckily, I made an entire river, specifically 4 water buckets. And I think I'm going to make this at spawn chunks, and spawn is right here, right where this crafting table is. Oh my god, that dude is really sprinting towards me. Please. Oh my god, that was actually pretty scary. But I'm going to put a moss farm. Oh my god. Absolutely brutal, dude. I think I'm going to put the moss farm down here somewhere. This is still in spawn chunks, so it should work. And this is a perfect spot to start building. While I'm building the moss farm, I actually want to ask a question to you guys, and that is whether or not you guys like longer videos or shorter videos, because I've noticed my videos have been getting longer and longer, and I just want to know whether or not you guys enjoy that or if you don't. But I just want to also say thank you for the support on my channel recently. It has been absolutely amazing, and if you're new here, make sure to stick around because I plan on uploading so many more videos on this world. I have no idea how efficient this farm is, but it should be efficient enough for this episode and any future project. But I mean, that's already so much moss. This is going to be amazing to have in this world. But I'll let this run in the background and hope that it does continue running. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a ton of spruce wood because I need a ton of spruce wood for this build. I left the farm running and flew over to the mega spruce biome nearby so it would produce moss and spruce for this build at the same time because we are all about energy efficiency here at the Wombaat HQ. And I'm hoping that this is enough stripped spruce logs for this build. But I'm actually curious on how much moss that this farm has produced since I started collecting this spruce wood. Okay. Oh my god, that is so much. This is amazing. I love this. Okay, I'll just let it run, and then I'll get a shulker box and then fill them up, and that should be enough. I ended up collecting 2 full shulker boxes of moss blocks, which was only about 10 to 15 minutes of AFK time, and then I crafted down the moss bits I needed for this build. And then I started spamming copper grates on the floor, which actually woke my neighbor up. I'm starting to love the copper blocks, but the next update, they need to fix this. They need to make it easier to de-wax this stuff, I guess. To de-age it. I don't know, because having to do this a bunch sucks. I mean, come on, dude. They can make a workstation block in the game that easily removes the wax from copper, because this feels like an absolute chore to do. And yeah, I needed a pretty good amount of copper, so I committed an atrocity. I mean, yeah. This is what happens when you need a ton of copper. I mean, that is horrendous. That is so bad. But right now I need a ton of pink and brown dye, so I am going to go over to the jungle biome and just get some myself. And I know you can get pink petals from the cherry grove biomes or the cherry blossom biomes. Very easy source of pink dye. I needed some dye because I want to make a bunch of different types of candles for this build, as I have found myself using them for pretty much everything I build now. Okay, so what am I looking at? What is this? How is that even possible? I really don't know what the creeper was doing over there, but I know what I'm doing, and that's finishing up the material gathering process for this episode by crafting down all the candles I needed, and going over to the coral reef biome to collect the final block I needed for today's episode. I did end up getting a little bit distracted though, because I wanted to dig up a sniffer egg. Don't ask why, I just randomly got the urge to dig one up, and I eventually did. Well, I only have one sniffer egg, but I am going to create a little pen for it right here, and this should be big enough. I want to get another one, but I think one for now, it will be okay. Now, after an entire day of collecting materials, I have most of the materials to be able to finish this project. I mean, a ton of materials here. And the first step is actually terraforming, and for that, I need a decent amount of tuff, I need some moss, I need some pale oak wood, some granite, some diorite, dripstone, some smooth basalt, some deep slate, and some light gray terracotta, because I wanted to try a whole different block palette for the cliffs I'm going to make. I'm going to start using some acacia with some smooth basalt as well. I'm also going to work up with a little bit of deep slate as well and make sure to point it to use that texture, which blends in really well with the basalt. And I'm just going to keep going up with the acacia block, and I'm also going to mix in some tuff with the acacia as well. So it'll look something like that. That's a very nice looking gradient. And I'm going to keep mixing in the smooth basalt, but also work up with some pale oak and the granite. And the granite is a pretty common block that's going to be used here, and I think it just looks really, really cool to create these kind of like red rocks. And to go along with the granite, I'm going to work up with some light gray terracotta as well. And I know this is a little bit of an interesting block to use, but I'm also going to use some clay, and it's a very harsh transition, but it's going to work, I think. As I also want to mix in some diorite and do something like this. But this little section right here shows off what the main terraforming is going to look like. For a build like this, I find it way easier to have it organized in tiny little sections, almost like you're completing mini projects themselves. So what I'm doing is I'm just mapping out the area and completing a small section of terraforming before working on to the next. This makes the task feel much smaller and easier to manage. For these cliffs, I found an image online and wanted to recreate them in-game. Knowing I'm going to put a mining city here, I wanted to create some rocks that have more character to them. Like there's an abundance of materials to be gathered here. So there's a lot of different types of rocks being put into these cliffs. And there's also a rare earth magic here that attracts wandering traders to the cliff edge. Honestly, I might take that trade. That's a decent trade. An open eye blossom? I mean, I'll take it. I'm just going to trade with this fella, and he's going to be locked in this cave once it's closed off. So I can only get 4 of them with the emeralds I have now, and I think that'll be okay. I can always get more myself. Anyways, the sniffer can have them. After the distraction, I finished up the rest of the cliffs. And now those cliffs are in behind me, and I'm sure at first it looked a little weird, but with them in all together in one pretty big cliff, I think it looks really, really nice. And I also started working up with some moss. I got a little carried away, as this is where the massive storage room is going to be. But first, I'm just going to create a path right here and work on the terraforming for here, and then start on some of the other cliffs that also loop around this region. I went through my shulker monster and grabbed the materials to start on a pathway that goes all the way up and around the cliffside that I'm creating. I'm trying to use a mix of rooted dirt, coarse dirt, packed mud, and brown mushroom blocks, as it creates a very cool looking dirt road effect, and I think from now on this is the path design that I'll be using everywhere throughout my world. I wanted to obviously give the people who work and live on the mines a way to travel this area for transportation of goods, horses, or whatever needs to get up and down, so this path loops all the way up from this bottom section here to the area that the mining city is going to eventually be. And with these blocks placed in the area terraformed, we now have a pretty cool looking road for people to travel on. As you can see, you can't really put a city or town up here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to terraform this entire area just like I did this area as well, which is just going to be pretty much the exact same concept. So it's time to grab some more materials for the cliffs and continue making them going all the way up here. We have a road in and the idea of a city, but no place to actually put one, as the landscape here doesn't really work to put any builds on yet, so what I want to do is create some more custom cliffs following the same shape of the terrain that's already here to give me room to actually build on. And I'll be honest, up close I don't think this is the greatest terraforming, but from afar I think it looks really, really cool, and it'll look better once there's actually stuff in here, like buildings, which is why there's a big space right here that has nothing in it. There's no rocks right here, and that's because the big storage room will go right here. And I just noticed I missed a basalt block right there. But you can actually see the start of the building right here. This isn't the rock. This right here is actually the building. It'll kind of have like a little indent, and there's going to be a roof right there, and then there's going to be a big storage building. And I'm going to get started on it. Just need a bit of pale moss, some more deep slate, some tuff, some light gray terracotta, and some acacia logs. So the main idea behind the texturing of these walls you can kind of see right here, as it'll go in between the mossy cobblestone and the dead brain coral with the tuff and acacia logs to make it look super old and rocky, which is the exact vibe I want, as I think this mining town is very old and has been here for a very long time. So for this bottom layer, I want to start with gray wool, and then I want to work in with andesite, mossy cobblestone, some tuff, and then the other side of the deep slate block. This is not the correct one. For now, I'm just going to do this, and then I want to use this side of the deep slate block, and then I want to go up with some more of the wool and some more deep slate like that, because there's going to be some pretty big windows here. And on this side, it's going to keep going up with some andesite, some acacia, and some more of that deep slate texture that I want. And it's very hard to get that deep slate texture without placing blocks behind it, which is extremely annoying. And we get something like that, which from a distance will look really cool. And on the side, I'm just going to keep working up with a lot of the same texturing, working up with some of the acacia, tuff, and deep slate, but also mixing in some light gray terracotta and some more tuff. But for these windows, I actually want to get some of the copper grates that we have that are not really weathered enough, but I'm just going to grab some. And we should have some more in this chest, and we do, because I want to mix some of the normal waxed exposed with some of these, because I think together they make it look a little bit more messy, and I think it'll look cool. So I'm just going to work up with some of the copper gray windows until we have something that I'm happy with, but I don't have enough of these yet, so I'm just going to replace them with the normal ones and then remove that layer of wax on it. because I think that just blends in really, really well together. So for these, I'll keep at this stage, but these three need to go down to this, but I guess it doesn't really matter too much. I also want to grab some of the spruce bits, so I'm going to grab this shulker box and some of the mud brick walls and go up with like a little window outline. And I'm just going to repeat this on this side as well. Now that both windows are in, I want to work with some mud for an outline for this entryway right here, which is going to be where the storage room is. And I'm going to connect it with some spruce fence gates, because the spruce fence gates will kind of go up like that and create a very cool looking archway. And then I'm going to go up with some spruce fences all the way up till we get to this block, and I'm going to put a spruce slab on it with slabs going around here as well. So now there's this pretty cool looking entryway right here. But as you see, there's not a lot of space to put a storage room right here, so there's going to be a lot of digging. And there is a block that I need for the floor that is going to take a ton of iron, because I need to make 3 stacks of smithing tables. That's a stack right there. That's another stack. And I still need another stack. So there's all the smithing tables that we need. That's like all the iron I have in this world, because I'm going to use this for a pretty good section of the floor down here. But first, I need to terraform a little bit. But I think I want to do the exterior before I do anything in there. And now up here for a trim, I want to alternate between the spruce stairs and a spruce trap door going every other block. And this should give us a pretty cool look for the trim, and it matches the other spruce bits going around the edges of the other parts of the build. And for this layer, I'm going to go up with a barrel, and I'm going to get some diorite and pale oak blocks for the second level of the build. And now that I have this in and textured, the next step is to add in the windows. And for this, I'm actually just going to stick with the waxed exposed copper grates and not do any texturing. So it's just going to be this going up in every single window right here. And I think that design just looks really, really cool so far. But with this done, I want to create another spruce trim here, not just for here, but on this white part as well to kind of blend them in together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same kind of inverted thing, except I'm doing it with fences and fence gates, just like that throughout the entire bottom of it. I'm just going to keep working this around the entire way. And once I'm on these edges, I'm actually going to build up with this, and then I'm going to work up with the spruce stairs at the way top like that. Not like that, like that. And then once I'm up here, I'm going to do the spruce fence gates as well on every single side, and then placing a stair on these pillars. And I'm also going to open all of these, and I'm going to sleep. And that gives me something pretty cool looking right here. And I just think it trims the build really, really well, and I don't know, like it looks fortified in a way, which I think fits the whole mining theme. I continued these details for the rest of the building, and then started working on a little side section. I wanted to create some pretty big doors here, as if this is a place for people to store large mining equipment. And for these doors, what I wanted to do was use some levers and open them to almost look like big door handles, and I think it does a pretty good job. I mean, the levers are not connected, but I think it works. And since this is the central or main storage building for this area, I wanted to create some big industrial looking doors to act as maybe they're bringing in some big wagons or something full of stone blocks or whatever that's going to be in here. And since I left this wall blank on accident, I am actually just going to use this as an excuse to go through how I texture these walls right now. So usually I work up from the top to the bottom, and I go from dark to light. So right now, if you mix up some deep slate with some acacia logs and some tuff, you get a pretty nice look. And then eventually you want to work into some of that dead brain coral that I've been using, and it just matches so well together and it creates a very nice transition. But something else I like to do is mix in some of the mossy cobblestone here in some random spots, and also go through and add in patches of your cobblestone as well. And then what you can do is also bring in another dark spot down here using some acacia logs, and you can keep going up with some of that tough mossy cobblestone and normal cobblestone as well. And something I like to do with my builds recently, and this is something that I've seen other people do, is mix in a little bit of light gray terracotta into a build like this, which is exactly what I've been doing, and then also go through with some dripstone as well with those bits, and it just looks really, really cool. And this is something that I'm doing throughout this entire mining city. So I slapped a roof on top of that section, then worked on the storage building, finishing up the right side. Then I added in a roof. And I got a little carried away with some of the details around the build, adding in a little area for stone and wood storage. And now the exterior of the storage building is complete, and I think it's looking so good. And I think I might have gotten a little carried away with some of the detailing for this as well, as I built this little rock pit area where, I don't know, maybe they just store some of the bigger rocks that they get. And then there's also some wood piles. I don't know, just a little bit of detail added here in this corner along with this right here. And I love what I did for the texturing on the side and the windows and stuff. I can't put the copper grate windows in yet because I don't have enough of them, but I do love the detailing in this build. It looks so nice. But finally this is done and I can work on the interior. But before I do that, my pickaxe has been pretty broken for a while and I don't want to accidentally break it, and I'm gonna go mend up a bunch of my tools and stuff. And this is probably my favorite place on earth to be. For this interior though, I'm going to need to grab a decent amount of these. So I am just going to go through and grab all of the ones that are weathered. And I already have some of the interior floor done, as you can see how many of these smithing tables I'm going to use, because I want to create a 2-block ring around this entire room right here. And for the corners of the room, I am just going to use the spruce that we've been using for this build already, just going up to about here, and I'm going to do this right here as well. There was still a 1-block layer of stone and grass that needed to be removed, so while I removed that, I added in deep slate for the floor along with those smithing tables I was talking about. And the top side of the smithing table texture is very underutilized, so I thought this was a pretty good place to put it, and matching it up with the deep slate texture works super well. I also created this very cool looking entrance, almost as if this door can shut, and there's a huge spot in the middle of the room that I'll get to later. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this texturing throughout the entire room for the walls. And now with these walls in place for most of the room, there's these spots which already have a archway there. And for these areas I want to do a little mix of diorite, and I want to bring this up going around this entire thing. And then once I get up to this spot, I want to add in some walls with a fence gate and some normal fences going down. And this is going to create some archways for some other rooms that'll be here for more storage. And now all of those side rooms are in, and I think this just makes the room look a little bit better, and it also adds a little bit more interest in terms of the coloring of the room. Now there's one thing that I need for this room, and that is frog lights. I want the green version of the frog lights, so I'm gonna have to go over to the nether and get some of that, but I already know this has more than enough for this build. And yeah, 3 stacks, that is probably enough, but I'm just gonna take a little bit more back with me just in case. Okay, dude, what is happening? Why is there so many pigs and chickens up here on this mountain? Oh my god, they just keep going. I want to create a cool outline for this room, and for that I'm going to use some trapdoors in a line like that, and then I'm going to use some other trapdoors around the edge, and it's going to give it a little industrial look that I'm going for. And then I'm going to continue around with the spruce trim. With that in place, I wanted to use diorite for the ceiling with copper grates and frog lights just around the top outline of the room. Now there is just 2 final touches I need for this build. Well, first of all, there needs to be chests back here, and then I'm going to do something here. And for that, I'm going to need a few materials. One of those materials is some cyan terracotta, and then I also need some glazed terracotta, so I'm just going to take a couple stacks of that. I also need some glow lichen, and I'm hoping I have some left over from last episode. So I have 40, that's perfect. The first thing I'm going to do is use the smithing tables to create an outline, as I want to put like a cool design in the middle of the room. And then I'm going to use some of the polished deep slate stairs because it blends in pretty well with the smithing tables and gives it a little bit more depth. Now the next step is I actually want to create a pickaxe in the middle here, and there's going to be a nice pickaxe in the middle of the room to symbolize, you know, a mining town or the mine storage. And what I want to do is I want to use the glazed terracotta, but I want it to all be facing the same direction. And honestly, there's something pretty creepy about the gray glazed terracotta block where it looks like an eyeball. Maybe I'll use that in the build eventually, this block for like an eyeball. And now what I want to do is sprinkle some glow lichen around the edge here, and there we have a pretty cool design for the floor. And with some finishing touches to the room, like some cool candle lighting and of course the chest in place, the room is now finished with hopefully all of the storage we will ever need. And there is the storage system in place. There's not really a system here, it's just a bunch of chests. I spent so much time building the storage building, you probably forgot there was an entire mining city I have to build. So right now I'm laying out the path for the inside of the city and filling in the other spaces with dirt so we have room to build on. There's 7 buildings up here alone, so I need a pretty good amount of space. And I have also laid out the foundation for every single building that's going to be up here with some cobblestone and some stone over here. And there is a lot of diagonals. There's a couple diagonals right here to kind of shape a little town center right here. But I first want to get started on, I guess, one of the entrances. And I think this is probably my favorite part of the entire build. And that is a house that is right here that connects to another smaller house slash tower right here. The block palettes for these houses are pretty much all the same, so I built up using that same concept with the different types of gray blocks, and of course using the dripstone and light gray terracotta as well. Also adding in space for windows, of course using more copper gray blocks for something that looks like that. And I just love this style of building with the windows. I think it just makes it look so cool. Now I have to do the other sides of the building, continuing the texturing and further fueling my copper grade addiction, adding in some other details, working my way to the front, and now all there is to do is the roof. And for this roof, I want to use a mix of tough and tough brick stairs, along with some stone brick stairs and some mossy stone brick stairs to create a lighter gradient than what we have down here. My thought process behind the roof was to go lighter instead of darker, honestly just because of how much black stone I used last episode. Originally I used tough and deep slate for the roof, but this design contrasts the other parts of the build much better. There we have the roof complete. I still have to do the other side of course, but that's what this is going to look like, and this is pretty much what every single building here is. I mean, there's really no difference between every one of the buildings. There is one thing though, one little detail that I want to add real quick, as I want to add a little spruce trim around this entire building using some of our spruce that we have, just like this. And we kind of did this down there, but this is a little bit different, I think, as it just kind of goes around the building for a little trim like that. With that spruce trim in, all I have to do is add in the other side of the roof. With that house done, I wanted to create a small entrance section to the city in between these two buildings. But now there is a big building attached here that I want to get started on, and there is a diorite tower that's not attached to the ground, but it's kind of attached to the side of the building, which is like a medieval thing that I always see in like some castle art online and like Pinterest, and I thought it was cool. And I wanted to try it out myself, and I think it just looks so nice. Although the main building here is using the same general block palette, the building altogether is the most interesting in the entire city, and this tower is one of the main reasons for that. I didn't want it to touch the ground, but instead be attached to the side of the building. I usually use reference images for inspiration for my builds, and I only see towers that look like this, and it gives such a fantasy vibe to the entire build. There's actually something that I want to try for the top of it, but for that I am going to craft up a flower pot. I want to put a chain with a flower pot on top of it with the closed eye blossom, and I don't know if I like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over to the nether portal that I built last episode, because there is something over here that I think is going to look pretty cool at the top of this build, and it's right here. If I can catch the pot, good. With a wither rose, I think it just has enough shape that it looks a little bit nicer. Where did the eye blossom go? I have it, okay. And I think that just looks cooler because of the shape that it has. With that out of the way, all there is left to do is the final details. The next step for this region though is I'm going to put a custom cliff right here that loops around and goes up, because I want to put the mine entrance right here. And in order for there to be a mine entrance here, in my opinion, there needs to be a little mountain or cliff right here, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Don't worry, this is the last terraforming to do in this episode. No, I'm joking. There's always more terraforming to do. Always more terraforming. And this little cliff right here, I think, just sets this into the environment super, super well. But I think something that would make this area just pop a little bit more is a big custom oak tree. In fact, I already have the space laid out for it to go right here. I don't want it to block this, but I do want it to kind of feel like you're walking through like a tunnel. Not necessarily an actual tunnel, but like a tree tunnel, you know? And then into the mining village. So I'm going to put a custom oak tree right here. And it feels like it's been forever since I've made a custom tree, even though it's only been a couple of hardcore episodes, but it just feels so nice to finally put another one in. And I forgot to record it, but I also put in this area for log storage to fit the empty space. I definitely got a little carried away with the building here, but I wanted to put in a flower field over here as well. And I just realized that I put water in the field, even though there's no farmland in this field whatsoever. So I put water in the field for absolutely no reason. I mean, there's no crops here. There's no carrots. It's just going to be flowers. It's going to be little flowers. And here's a nice little montage of me putting flowers in the field. With the flower field in and the other details for this region, this side of the village is finally done. But that brings me right into the next couple of buildings. Like I said, I got a little carried away as I wanted to put a diagonal house next to the one we already made, and an additional small storage building that'll sit next to the mine entrance. Which is exactly what I want to build right now, because I don't want to see this empty space anymore. But for this, I want to do something a little different. I used the dripstone for a 2-block base layer and worked up with the packed mud for the rest. Then I used diorite on top of the packed mud for a big contrast, but still using familiar blocks from the other parts of this build. But I did want to go through and add a good amount of texture to this wall right here using blocks that have similar colors. Now there is a pretty good amount going on, but I kind of like it. It looks very broken and dirty, almost like they've rebuilt some spots with the pale oak right there. What I'm going to do is add in the trapdoor on these sides with the spruce trapdoors in as well. This one I want to leave open, so I'm going to do it on the side of that block, and then this one I'm going to leave not right there, but right here. And yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. Oh my god, dude. Why is every hostile creature coming out of the depths, dude? With a big bone. Now all there is left to do here is build the roof, and I even put in this nice little chimney. And now with this roof done, and the chimney in and everything, it's starting to look so cool. I forgot to mention I put a wagon here in the middle as well. I mean, I guess it would make more sense if the wagon was going that way, but whatever. But I want to add in some barrels right here. Maybe something like that looks pretty cool. And then I want to put a lantern on top of that, and then I can also add in a couple of campfires to look like some extra storage right here. This little section is pretty much complete. I mean, there's a few small details I can add in here for sure. And the grass is spreading and I don't want it to. I'm hoping that doesn't spread anymore. But anyways, now I think it's time for me to connect the bottom of the build with this section of the build. There is a little lift right here, like a little elevator, and it connects this right here with this, so people can transport ores or just people in general up here to the top mine section. First, I wanted to build a raised platform for this elevator to sit on, with a ton of support beams, where now I'm getting started on the bottom part of the elevator slash lift thing. I actually want to try something pretty unique here with these support beams, and I want to try to use copper bulb as a way to achieve this look that I'm going for. That's kind of some support, so I can age this down a little bit and then put some of that honeycomb on top of it, and that kind of looks like a nice support block, and I think it works pretty well. I think I'm actually going to get some stone buttons to put on top of them. That may just fly on down here, and then if I do it on like the side textures, and yeah, I think that looks like a pretty cool support block or support beam. Now with the basic idea I had for the elevator, all I had to do was continue this going up to the top and connecting it to the other parts of the village. And now we have this little lift here, and ooh, I can actually keep that aged that way. Okay, but as you can see, it goes all the way down, and I'm just gonna do a quick little fly around, a quick little showing of it. I think it looks pretty cool. Maybe they're lifting up materials, maybe they're lifting up people up to this top section from this lower section, because I do plan on putting a mine right here. A creeper exploded, don't worry about that. But I do have one more thing I want to do for this, and that is the actual lift. I want to actually create the elevator. That was awesome that I just did that. That was great. And for this, I already have chains, but I want to create some grindstones. But I'm going to put 4 right here like that, with chains connected to all of them going down, as if it just lifts right up here, and you can either get off of it or get the materials off of it. And actually something that would be pretty cool in hindsight would be to remove that. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. And then I can move the chains going this way. Maybe they'll connect to it right there. It looks like they don't. But if I did that, I can put like a chain right there, and maybe that would look cool. Or maybe I will keep that, but I'll just do it like that and then connect it with a couple more slabs like that. And I don't know if I like that more, but I think I'm just going to leave it. But these chains will go all the way down. I don't want them to go down all the way. I want it to look like the elevator is actually in use currently, and maybe I could put some materials in it. Okay, I made the change a little bit lower, but what I want to do now is make a little platform here, and it's gonna have to be pretty small. Maybe get something like that going. Can also throw in maybe like a beehive in here and some campfires. And now there's a little lift for materials and stuff up there. And maybe because I don't want mobs spawning up there, I can throw in a lantern as well if there's room in here, and I think there is right there. Perfect. But now I want to work on a couple more buildings. I first removed the cobblestone I laid out for this build earlier and started placing the exact same blocks I've been placing for this entire episode. I don't care about having a ton of variety for this build in terms of the blocks I'm using, as this is a mining village, which in my opinion is expressed better by using less color for the buildings, because this place has probably been here for quite a long time, and these buildings are meant to look old. But I did want to add some details to the back of the build because there was a little bit of space left over from the cliff edge, so I put a little side entrance and room for some plants and some extra storage, and you can't forget the chimney. I know these houses are all the same, but this is the first one that I ever laid out in the creative planning, and I think this one might be my favorite because I love the back of the build and the way the like chimney attaches to it. You have this walkway up here into the abyss that is the interior of this build, but I just love the way, got a candle, that the candles look on top of the fences, and then there's like a little wheat patches right here as if they're trying to grow their own crops. And if you do some parkour around here, there's another one, and I just think that the little details behind this build make it so cool. But I kind of want to add another fence that goes along this right here, and this is something that I learned from B-dubs, of course. I mean, who else? But what I want to do right here is I want to put like a little flower patch with some rose bushes, but I don't know if I have any laying around. Oh, there is a small patch of them right here. This will probably be enough, and I kind of like the way that looks. I think just the pop of red and color looks pretty nice behind this build. With that building done and some extra details, I wanted to add in the last building in this region, which is a diagonal house that greets you right as you enter this side of the village. But I do actually have a cool idea in mind for a little balcony right here for this building. So if I just place in some walls, and I know these aren't connected, but if I do something like this with some black candles on top, and I think I can honestly use gray candles and it'll blend in a little bit better. But from this angle, it looks like a pretty cool looking like fence slash balcony. And honestly, you're not really going to be seeing it from any other angles to where this works. Like, I think really the only angle that doesn't work is like that. But even when you're coming down from here, like it doesn't look that bad. Like, it kind of meshes together well unless you're looking directly at it, and I think it looks pretty cool. I have built so many houses this episode, and I just built one tree. So I grabbed my favorite leaf block and started building a small tree next to the elevator I made just a little bit ago. And with that tree done, I also added in 4 more. And with those details, I am officially done with this build. No, I'm joking, I have 1 more house to make. Why is cyan dye like a good trade? The tariffs are hitting me rough, okay? I need leads. Don't mind my little sacrifice there, because now I'm just going around and placing in some grass and other small details around the build to make it look just a little bit more complete. And just some of these small details make this build look so much better. It's now time to finally enter the mines, because in this episode I've built up an entire village, but they have nowhere to work. So now it's time to build a custom cave. With this cave in place, I want to add in like a little support structure here. So I'm going to add in a couple of pillars going up like that, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Then I'm going to put a 2-block gap and put another couple of pillars going this way. And I have a really cool idea using spruce trapdoors, oak trapdoors, and spruce signs. If I go in and add some oak trapdoors on the bottom with some spruce signs like this, and then if I go in and add some spruce trapdoors over top of that, it creates a pretty cool looking support, like fence almost, and I really like the design for it. So I'm going to do this in here. And now we have something that looks like this. But with this in place, I'm actually going to go through and texture it up. And now it is textured up and it is looking a lot better. But with this done, I have an area laid out right here and then some ores down here. But what I want to do is make it go down here and somehow spiral into this area where the actual mine is. And the first thing I'm going to do is add in some more support beams going up, and I'm going to do the same thing for right here. And now that already looks a little bit better, but I also want to connect them. So I'm going to put some beams going this way, another one, and another one like this. But to add a little bit more design to it, I can add some supports to the support beams by using some slabs and some fences for something like this. And I think that looks pretty cool on the edges, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. But actually over here, I think I want to do something a little bit different and make it go up to here, and then do the same thing over here, except I want it to be one block down so it goes up like that. And I think that looks pretty cool. There's some support beams here, there's some right there. It's a little messy, it's a mine, it's not supposed to be perfect. But to add some further support, I can just add in some more fences like that. But because I'm getting a little bit of inspiration from like Skyrim and stuff, they always have like shelves in the mines, and I want to make a mine that it kind of has the same vibe. So I'm gonna make a little shelf right here. Maybe they keep books on here, maybe they keep snacks, I don't know. I'm just gonna put a lantern on there. That's not a lantern. That's a lantern. That was a slab, and then that means I can remove this one. And because this is a mine, I honestly don't mind the way the torches look on the walls. So I'm just going to put the torch right there. But an extra detail I want to add in here, some levers. Oh my god, I forgot I had Instamine, because I need cobblestone. And I want to add in lantern design right here. And I can do this in other spots as well. I can remove this lantern and put one up high up there a little bit, and then put one right here. I mean, that's pretty much the design of it done. But I do have something cool that I want to put right here. So I'm going to start with a slab here, and then some slabs going up like this, and then I'm going to work up with some trapdoors, but I want to connect it with some fences at the bottom to give it a little bit more support, and I think that's a pretty cool look to it. And I just like this little staircase right here to be able to go up, and then there's this little section right here, and then I actually have something really cool that I'm going to put right here. And for this, I'm actually going to start down here and place two levers like that with some chains on top of them. And I want to create like a little support right here, and then I want to add in like a floating structure, like you know, similar to what we have here, but it's floating along the wall, and this is just supporting it. And I actually want to use some campfires, so I'm going to add some of those in. I'm going to add a chain and a lightning rod on top of that for some more support, and I'm going to add in some spruce trapdoors on the sides of these with another campfire. And then to mix in some more texturing, I'm going to add some slabs and probably just some more trapdoors. But they have like this little pathway that they made up here, because maybe they realized that there was another part of a cave up here. And I think it's a pretty cool touch. I think it looks cool. But with that little cave done, I actually built an even smaller cave underneath that one. And it's a little small, but it's pretty cool looking. And eventually I would love to expand these caves and make a huge mining system, almost like what you see in Skyrim. I recently built up this beautiful mining village to hold all of the stone I have in this world, which ever since the massive river project, it's been quite a lot. But I am on a journey to organize my entire world while also expanding. So today I'm taking one of my oldest projects, improving upon it, and expanding it into a new and improved farming village. And a lumber mill with wood storage, because I didn't mention that. I failed to mention that. This is one of the first builds that I ever did in this world, and it's honestly one of my favorites. I think this is a pretty good build. Now, everything down here, I kind of hate. I really hate everything in here. This is terrible. I'm going to remove this. And same thing goes for this. I do not like this whatsoever. I haven't touched this part of the world in hundreds of days for some reason, and since then my build style has greatly developed, so it is finally time to revisit one of my earliest projects. And I've recently updated my world to 1.21.5, which means I get access to all of the new blocks, which means I'm going to fly out into the middle of nowhere and try to find a space that actually has all of the new blocks. I'm mean, he has nice little horns. He has little horns on him. And the guy has a personality to him, too. As someone who likes terraforming in Minecraft, these new blocks are just so cool. I love them so much. Oh my god, did not mean to get up in your face like that. I got a little lucky and had leaf litter and wildflowers right next to each other, but I'm on a search for every single new block. Now there should be a desert over here somewhere, and I think the dry grass should spawn in the desert. But oh my god, the new pigs. The new pigs. Oh yeah, and there's some wild camels. Now I don't know if I can use my hoe to silk touch this stuff. Oh, I can. Perfect. Oh my god, I finally found it. The bush. Oh, this is going to be one of my favorite things to use in this game. And I'm just going to collect a few more of these. I don't really have much in my inventory, but I should just be able to bone meal it and automatically farm this stuff. So it's time to go back home. This is a pretty long way to travel back. Now that I'm back home and I have all of the new blocks and materials in this update, I have to figure out a way to automatically farm them. I know nothing about redstone, so I built what is probably the dumbest machine ever made in this game. I don't know how this works, but it does. I figured it out. So to turn the farm on and off, you actually just need to do this one. Somehow this works. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this one out. It's working, but it's not good. This is not good redstone that I'm doing right now. This is really bad, actually. It's extremely loud. I'll give it that. Extremely loud. So I blew my eardrums out for long enough to give me all the materials I would need for today's episode. I definitely need a more efficient method of farming these, but this works for now. But now that that's done, it's time to start collecting the bulk of the materials for this project. So it's time to punish this forest for being here. And I'll see you guys in like 10 hours, I think. Because I plan on making over 20 custom trees today, and for that I need thousands of spruce planks to craft down the fences I need. Not only that, but I also need 1,200 spruce trapdoors. There's one thing I need a lot of that I don't have, and that's tough. I've been using a lot of tough recently, and it's kind of hard to find. And one way I know how to find it is actually to go down here. And this might honestly be a terrible mistake. Let me try to find like a safe spot to land. I'm actually like terrified. Well, I see a ton of tough, but I don't think it's really manageable. Yeah, you know what? I think this might have been a mistake. I don't think it's gonna be good to find tough down here. Maybe over here. Hey, there's actually some tough down here. Oh my god, that is actually crazy. How many creepers there is right there? He just took them all out. That's so funny. Owie. Well, yeah, I mean, there is a pretty good amount of tough down here. I need so much of this stuff. I hate how good tough looks because it is so tough to find. I usually rely on a strip mine I have, but you can mine in a straight line for 2 hours and not see a single tough block. So flying down into the underworld was my best bet to find these patches of tough on the floor. So after a little mining session, I have a full shulker box and a little extra of tough. But while I'm in here, I kind of have the bright idea of trying to steal a chest or two from the warden. Just gotta be careful. Wasn't very careful. So scary down here. It is so scary. Okay. Swift sneak. So much swift sneak. That's actually crazy how many swift sneak books there are. That's actually very helpful. First chest I got swift sneak. I'll take it and I'm just gonna leave. Eventually I'll loot that. Comment below if you want me to loot the whole thing, and maybe I'll do it. So I'm actually gonna go to the blacksmith, and I might put it on my leggings right now. 19 levels. And now we have Swift Sneak. That's going to help out so much with building. Over 1,000 days. And I just now got Swift Sneak. This angle feels really creepy. After being a very brave soldier and clearing out a huge portion of the ancient city and taking a nap, I headed on over to the mangrove swamp to collect mud, as every single custom oak tree I'm building today takes multiple stacks of mud brick walls. Thankfully, there's an entire mangrove biome in order for us to take it down so we can get some walls, and took down an entire oak forest because, well, for every 6 oak trees I take down, I'm going to replant one of them back in this episode, which is obviously super sustainable. But all jokes aside, the material gathering process mostly consists of wood materials and the basic stone materials, many of which we already have left over from the last episode. But one thing I do want to try and get is some pale moss. And I know I have some pale moss in the storage room down here. I have a decent amount in here. This is not going to be enough. I want to actually put this in the moss farm I made last episode so I can just collect so much of it at once. So let me see. I think all I really have to do is replace the moss block in the center right here with pale moss and then run the farm. And yeah, we're already getting a decent amount of pale moss in here. Just gonna let this run for a little bit. While I have that farm running, there actually is one automatic farm I want to make in this episode. And for this farm, I'm gonna need a few materials, and luckily I have this shulker box right here for some reason with a decent amount of the materials that I'm going to need. And the last thing I need for this automatic farm is some bone meal, and I have 64 bone blocks in here. And that's about it. Now it's time to head over into a flower forest biome because I want to build an automatic tulip farm. And there it is, the flower forest biome. I have to find a place that has white tulips and then build it there. And this looks like a pretty good spot. Now I think I would actually like to choose an area that's a little bit flatter to build the farm though. So let me just look around to find a good spot. Right here looks pretty good. And now I just have to flatten this area out a little bit. Now with that space cleared out, it's time to start building this tulip farm, which is really only used for one single field in this episode, but will give me all of the tulips I will ever need. You can just power the farm with a lever right here. Nope. Ah, I think it's actually one block too short. That is so trippy looking. Oh my god. I loaded up the farm with some bone meal and ran the farm for a little bit because who doesn't love flowers? I mean, if you don't like flowers, I do not trust you. This is a great farm and should give me all the flowers I need. Then I headed over to the acacia biome to get some acacia. I don't know why I called it an acacia biome. It's a savanna biome. I headed over there because I needed the logs for building and leaves for some trees. Look out, man. There's a storm coming, dude. There is a storm not even coming. It's just here, all right? And you guys are worried about me? Look at the storm, man. It's like Dune out here. You guys are worried about the wrong thing. Can't even see. But I'm just out here collecting a ton of acacia wood. Just my favorite thing to do. The final block I needed was some copper, so I headed back over to the trial chamber, which is just my favorite place to be. Wow, I mean, that is awful, dude. I mean, does that thing even have good enchants? Oh my god, that's bad. That is so bad. Get out of my face. You know what? I'm done. I'm getting out. I think I've done enough. Guys, this actually just got me. I fell all the way from up there onto the dripstone. I don't know how I didn't die. Now I finally feel like I can dive into building, but actually I'm not going to be building anything yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy, and I'm going to destroy right what is in front of me, and that is this thing that I built that I don't like at all. I don't like this whatsoever. I've recently come to the realization that I just hate a lot of the old things I've built in this world. A lot of that has to do with the lack of creative planning I spent on these areas, and also I've just become a better builder. But in general, I just absolutely hate this part of the world. It's almost like it was never there, like it never existed in the first place. And yeah, the area definitely feels a little bit empty, but that's gonna be changed in just a second. But I want to remove this first. It's an eyesore. It's been here for hundreds of days, and you know what? Sometimes I feel like I've just seen it for so long that I don't even acknowledge it. Like my brain doesn't even process that it's here still. It looks a lot better now, and that took all of 5 seconds. So I don't know why I didn't do that much sooner, but it's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. I need help, and I definitely. Oh my god! Why am I even going in the library with my rails? It's gonna look way nicer though once I get started on the new horse stables. I am starting these new and improved horse stables by laying out the foundation, which uses tough, pale moss, and a mix of lighter tones like andesite cobblestone and mossy cobblestone. Of course, creating a good amount of space for some horse stables, I created a smaller section there in front and started on the second level of the build, which uses a mix of oak, birch, pale oak, mushroom blocks, and some sandstones, and of course copper grate windows going around the entire build. And instead of continuing up with this texturing, I'm actually going to go up with some mangrove and some oak wood, and I'm going to leave a space here for a little window. So I'm going to continue going up with some of that mangrove and oak wood, but I'm actually going to transition into some stripped dark oak wood up at the top like this. And now we have something like this for the build, and I think it's coming together quite nicely. But something I do want to do to add a little bit of separation between these different block palettes is I want to use some spruce signs, because I want to wrap a spruce sign trim around the entire build going this way, and it looks a little bit like that, and I think it just makes the build look so much better. I wrapped signs around the rest of the build along with some other details. Now it's just time to add in the roof, and for this I want to grab some of the spruce stairs we have, some of the exposed cut copper stairs, brick stairs, jungle stairs, and some of the mud brick stairs on top of that. So I'm going to first use some of the brick stairs and granite stairs that we have, and this will go around the entire base of it. Continuing up with that granite, before I go into that copper. And I'm also going to mix in some of the jungle as well. And the jungle will transition up into some spruce here at the top. We now have the horse stable building in with the roof on top of it. But I actually want to go around the back here and add in a little shed right here. So I want to first go around with a tough base that goes up to this level right here. And actually, I think I want to carry it up just one more block going around like that. And I want to go through and add in these beehives for the base. And now I want to go around with some of the sandstone and birch that we used up here for a little bit of a lighter tone. And now we have a little shed in here that's attached to some extra stables. And I think this build is looking pretty nice now. Now all I need to do is add in some smaller little details. I first want to remove the grass in the actual horse stables and replace it with some of the coarse dirt that we have. And I wanted to use some of the rooted dirt with some short dry grass in there, almost as if there's some wheat like spilling out of this barrel. I don't know. But I want to mix in some actual hay bales right here with some of the short dry grass sprinkled around in here as well. Pretty small details, but I like it. And then to add a little bit more support or fortification to these horse stables, I wanted to go around with some iron bars around the edges like that, which kind of encloses them into their own space more. I've been experimenting a lot with signs, and they just add that little bit of extra depth to builds that looks so nice. But something I did want to try to do is add in some light gray candles on top of these. And again, like the little details using candles and signs, it just all in the end goes such a long way in terms of making a build look complete. So I can get my horse. I don't remember where my horse is. Did he like wander off? He can have a better home than this barn that doesn't have any animals in it. And I'm going to put him in this stable because it's open. It's going to be easier to get in and out. And I definitely want to add in another horse. Well, he's decided he likes the other place. The other stable. Okay. Well, since he likes this stable so much, I can add in a little bit of detail in here. Oh my god. What is happening? Also, I have had this horse for so long and he doesn't have a name. So leave some comments down below for what I should name the horse, because he's just nameless. He's been nameless forever. After observing my super athletic horse, I wanted to add a small wheat field on the right side of the build, and I figured since I updated my game to 1.20 1.5, I could also use some of the new dry grass blocks to look like wheat. Also jumping to the front of the build to add in a little pine tree. And now these stables are looking so much better than what they did before. These stables actually are decorated. The house doesn't look like garbage, and it even has a little bit of character here in the back with a jumping horse through the window. I did add in this wheat field right here using the dry grass and the short dry grass, and I think it looks really, really cool. But I've noticed this wall right here is pretty empty, so I want to actually go through and add in maybe a couple windows. But now with this build complete, I think the only thing that would make this space look better is a big custom oak tree right here. This one custom oak tree didn't make me go insane, but trust me, by the end of this episode, there will be so many of these, I had no other choice but to lose my mind. But what didn't make me lose my mind is picking potatoes and replacing this old potato field with a new and improved white tulip field. Also, with the snap of my fingers removing this old potato field, I don't have anything against potatoes, there's just too many of them, so I started replacing the farmland with coarse dirt and using that dry grass for another variety of wheat field, which on a large scale looks so cool. I also replaced these other potatoes right here with even more wheat while creating another patch of farmland for some of the new bushes, and yet another patch of farmland for a beetroot field, finally finishing off this area with a custom oak tree. Now we have another custom tree in, and I've extended the farmland back here quite a lot, and this took me forever to do. But you know what? I think it looks a little bit better. I think extending the farmland just makes this area seem a lot bigger. And this is an empty patch of farmland because I am trying to grow some beetroot. The next thing I want to do though is remove this. I absolutely hate this. This looks so bad. So obviously the best course of action is to remove it and start on a new building. And for these houses, I want to go around with some of the same texturing we used on the other house, which is just some of the mossy cobblestone and tuff. Also mixing in a little bit of that acacia wood as well. And then I want to go up and add some of that deep slate for some even darker tones like that. I do want to leave some space for a little doorway right here, so I'm going to go up with some of the spruce trap doors, and then I want to go up continuing with some of the same texturing. Now with the base in, I want to add a little staircase right here, and I want to give the people who live here a little way to get up to this level, and then have the actual house area be up here. So there's a little staircase that goes around the side of the house, and I'm just going to fill in this gap with some more tuff. And now for the second level here, I want to work up with an oak trim, and then it's going to go through with some of the stripped oak and oak planks on the bottom. And then I want to slowly go up to some birchwood and also mix in, of course, some copper grate windows, because what other window design would I be using for a build? So now I have something like that for this side, and I think I can go through and mix in a little bit more birch like that. Now it's just time to go through around the rest of the build, adding in the oak and birch with some more windows and details, of course, before slapping on a roof. I've also went through and added some details to the outside with these like feeder things, or maybe just some storage, and also added in some storage on the bottom of it as well. And this cool little like overhang balcony type thing for the door, and I think it looks super cool. But I do have a pretty cool design for a chimney that I want to try out. I'm going to need a block of mud, I'm going to need some iron, and a chest, because I want to make a hopper. And I also want to grab a flower pot. For this chimney, I want to go up from deep slate to mud to deep slate tiles for a slight gradient. And I want to use some more spruce signs around the chimney. And then I actually want to use a hopper with a flower pot on top of it for the actual chimney design. And I think it looks pretty nice. So now with this building done, I want to add the exact same building right over here. So I copy and pasted a near identical building right next door. There is one thing about this house that I want to change, and that is the balcony in the front. I want to do something pretty unique here with some lightning rods, but I want it to be facing like that, and then I want to break this one and have it facing up so it kind of connects at the bottom here perfectly with the fence, and then up at the top here. Now I want to use some campfires going around with some trapdoors and some spruce slabs. And let me see what it looks like from a little distance, and I think that looks pretty nice. In fact, I think I want to come in here and add in another slab, probably over here, just for a little bit more texture. And boom, I added the lower section. I don't know if I'm going to put anything in here yet. And this area used to be a vineyard. I still want to keep it one, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do something a little bit different from what I did last time to make it look a lot better. Now for this vineyard, I want to do something a little bit different from what I did before, but also something very similar. And I want to go through with some fences and fence gates up to here. And then on every single fence, I want to add another one on top of it with a brown candle like that. And what I'm going to go through and do is add in some flowering azaleas and some normal azalea leaves like that. And these could be grapes on the vine, and it'll just be going around in a pretty big field here. So I've upgraded the horse stables, the vineyard buildings, and now there is a brand new vineyard, which I think looks so much better. Knowing where we were before with this village, I think it's looking so much better now. But don't worry, I don't plan on breaking every old thing I don't like in this world, just the ones in this episode. I've already spent so much time this episode going over things I'm fixing with this area, so I want to speed up the process because I have much bigger plans for this episode. So I built up a new farmhouse where the old sheep field was to add a little bit more life in an area that was pretty empty. But don't worry, I kept the sheep there just with a better looking home and added in a couple custom trees. And then I replaced this empty patch of grass with a brand new flower field, and it's looking so much better. I also made a wagon. You can't forget the wagon. But now it's time to work away from the farming village and instead go by the river edge where I want to build a lumber mill. But I cannot get too carried away yet because I have to first connect the river to the rest of the world with a simple coarse dirt road, where I need a bridge to get across the river here, as there's no way of getting across, and this guy wants across. This bridge uses all of your basic gray stone blocks with some added mossy cobblestone and deep slate for the base. I wanted to build a bridge that has multiple archways and a support beam in the middle. Building a bridge was something that I was excited ever since I started the river project, and now we finally have another one to connect the other side. Now with a bridge we can walk across. I can now get started on the lumber mill for all of the wood storage in this world. I first want to start by creating the base for the actual mill, which will be where the people in this world get all of their wood chopped down for building, as I've been wanting to create more realistic professions with buildings in my world. Right now, I need to give whoever runs this mill a place to work, so I'm giving them a big platform for them to work on. But they don't want to be in the sun all day, so I also need to add in a roof over top. For this, I want to grab some spruce, some oak wood, and a little bit more spruce as well. And I want to use some of these exposed cut copper slabs to mix in. I first want to go up with some spruce, oak, and mangrove for a pillar, and then I want to do that again on this side. And then I want to connect these with some spruce stairs and slabs. So it'll go something like that, and that prevents people from falling off. To get started on the roof, I'm using the cut copper to act as a stronger support block, using spruce for a trim underneath it. And now I want to bring in some spruce slabs like that, and on every single pillar I want to do the cut copper. And then in between them I want to use spruce trapdoors. And I want to use the barrels following a similar pattern. I think in the end it just looks like these strips of the roof have a little bit more support to them. And boom, now we have this section of the roof and building done. Now it's time to decorate the inside of it. I was thinking for the middle here I'll use campfires facing this way. And then a trapdoor here, a trapdoor here. And then I want to kind of close this off with some signs, so it looks like a log can sit on top of this. And now in the middle here, I want to add a blade, and I want to use a chain on the end, and then I want to use some iron bars that go up like that, and it will cut some wood in half. For this side, I want to connect it to the roof using some spruce fence gates, and then a spruce fence that goes down and connects to the bottom with a mud brick wall. And then I want it to connect in the middle here with a mud brick wall that'll connect to this blade that will be attached to the ceiling for something like this. And this will be a little contraption that will power this from the water wheel that'll be right here in a second. But right here, I wanted to make it look like there was a wheel, so I want to use some oak trapdoors around it like this, so it'll look like that can spin, and maybe, you know, that spinning will somehow power this. I don't know. I'm kind of just making it look like it works. I have no idea how actually this would work in theory, but I think it'll look like it'll work. I don't know. I wanted to build a bigger wheel on the left side of the mill as maybe a way for the machine to generate a little bit more power. And now with some extra details here with some log storage on this side and this side, it's pretty much complete in here. The only thing left is to figure out the problem of, well, how is this thing getting powered? And that is the water wheel that'll sit right here along the river edge. And this is not super complicated. I'm going to use fences and walls. So I'm going to start off with a fence gate and a couple of mud brick walls. And then I want to see if I can get that sideways barrel texture. I cannot. And then while I'm down here, I'll add a spruce trapdoor along it like that. And then for a little bit of support, I want to use some andesite. And then to get an angle, I want to use a spruce stair that faces this way with a spruce trapdoor and a spruce plank attached to it. And it gives it an angle like that. And that'll be attached to another plank like that. And then a couple more walls, and that'll attach up to a fence in the middle there. And that is a quarter of the wheel already completed. All I had to do was use the same idea 3 more times for a full circle, but I also wanted to add another wheel behind it to make it look more realistic. There is one very small detail I want to add to this, because I want some polished black stone buttons. Do not have any at all. The good thing is I don't need much of this stuff. And it's just gonna go around the edges right here if I can reach like that. I all that for 12 buttons to be placed. But you know what? I think it actually makes a pretty big difference on the build, so I don't mind the little exploration I did just to find some buttons. While I built the base for the lumber mill, I wanted to talk about how amazing the support on the channel has been, as I've hit 20,000 subscribers while recording this video. So if you're not already subscribed, why not help me reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers? Before I can get started on the second level of the build, I need 74 beehives. 74, that's over a stack. Which means I just need to get as much honeycomb as I possibly can grab right now, and then make as many beehives as I can. So let me just use some of these jungle logs and make a ton of beehives. I want to have the second level go up by a block, so I'm going to use the logs with some trapdoors every 3 blocks or so. And now I'm just going to go up with some of the oak and mangrove logs, and also a little bit of stripped dark oak as well. And then in between every single one of these, I want to put the beehives. And instead of mixing in some oak and birch for this bottom section, I want to mix in some jungle and some oak. On this side, I'm going to start with some oak planks on here and then go up with the stripped jungle wood. And then I want to put scaffolding behind these windows, and it gives off a very cool effect when you have it that one layer in. I also wanted to put a big open window design in the middle of the build using fences and trapdoors, building up the rest of the walls with oak and jungle while continuing the mangrove and dark oak for the trim, and finally topping it all off with some lighter tones using some birch wood. Now it's just time to continue this for the entire top section. This build ended up being a very similar design to my starter barn. The only difference is this looks way better, as I found my build style and skills have increased so much since I started doing this world that I ball up my fist in anger whenever I look at my old builds. But with that done, all there is left to do is the roof. And this roof will just be a transition up from the dark deep slate tile texture, and it'll go up to the deep slate bricks and the cobble deep slate stairs. I think the mix of deep slate for the roof ends up being my favorite roof design, as I found myself enjoying mixing all these dark tones together for builds recently. But with the roof design in, I of course added in a chimney and a lift in the front for them to get wood up and down for more storage. Well, I wanted to talk about what I was going to build here, but these guys just decided to show up out of nowhere. Well, now I can talk about what I want to do here. I want to create just an extra space for more log storage that has like a little canopy over it. So what I want to do is first go up with a bunch of mud brick walls, and it won't go up too high, it'll just go up to here, and I'll do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to go up with some spruce slabs over top of what I'm doing now. And then I want to go up with some spruce trapdoors and slabs across the entire thing, and this will just give it a very gradual slope, which is what I want. Now that I have this roof over top, what I want to do is do what I did last episode with some barrels and some signs. And if you use the signs like this time I'm using oak signs because I think it just looks so much better. I'll put spruce slabs over top of the barrels and then some oak trapdoors over top of the oak signs, and I still love the way this looks, and I think it looks so much better with the oak sign because this is super dark and it almost blends in, and it just is such a cool way of creating a railing, and I'm going to use this so much. Now we have some log storage. I added in some jungle wood here just to make it look like they're also collecting some different types of wood. Maybe this one came from very far away because obviously there's no jungles nearby. But now all there really is left to do is the interior here, and also a door. I first replaced the door with some basalt and deep slate blocks before adding in some archways using some tuff and spruce, and now finally for the chest room I just added some wood in for the floor with some more of those spruce archways. Sadly I don't have enough chests to fill up the entire space, but I figured I could do a little tour here. I added in a kitchen here to the right because there's a chimney, so why not add a little kitchen? And I added in some log storage right here, nothing special, just some campfires and beehives. And the rest of the space is not too special, there's just more storage, more barrel storage right there, and I did fill up this room with chests. There's some barrels here on these sides. There's one section that could use a little bit more work, and that's up here. I don't know what to do up here, so if you have any ideas for what can be done up here, definitely let me know. I have the mill completed, but I want to create a house here along the river edge for whoever runs the mill to live in, as again, like I mentioned earlier, adding in that little bit of lore and spaces as to who runs the mill or why it's here, I think is important for making a space that feels realistic. But this house is not anything special, more so a home for one guy to live in. He might be lonely, all he cares about is his lumber, I don't know. But I actually am creating an interior for it. I already started to work on the kitchen here. I don't know, adding a little sink that's empty. The guy doesn't have any water. He didn't pay his bill. But I do have some really cool ideas for in here. Now, the first thing is I'm going to create a little table right here, and I want to put some plants on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some flower pots in there for now, and it'll be cool because you can see it through the window right here. On these barrels though, I'm going to put a bunch of signs to make them look like some shelves or cabinets, and then I do have a really cool idea for a floor design using some dead coral fans and some pale moss carpets. So I'm going to use the pale moss carpet as the actual carpet, but if you put these on the edges of it, it connects on the bottom without you actually putting a carpet block there. I mean, it even goes underneath the table here. It just looks so cool. I don't know. I think I'm going to continue doing this. With the interior done, I also spent some time changing the way the exterior looks, and I do like it a lot more now. I added in a small wheat field using the dry grass and began working on a small diagonal house here along the river edge, using the tough pale moss and mossy cobblestone as a base while going up with all of the other wood blocks I've already used in this area, adding in the chimney and going up with some warmer tones for the roof, finally framing the build with some signs and adding extra details to the back, and I got a little carried away with some custom oak trees. And I was thinking, right here we have this empty space. I'm going to remove this grass that I just put here, and I want to put a little planter here on the edge with some potatoes. And I can even add another one right here. Now we have like a little planter here on the edge of the house, which I think looks kind of cool. And then actually something I could do here is maybe put in some wild potatoes around the tree. But I want to see what those look like when they are fully grown. And I think it'll look pretty cool in here just for some little detail. But yeah, I've built up a ton of custom trees. This diagonal house, I think, is home to the skeleton, I guess. I was going to say, this is probably my best diagonal, but as you go around the back of the house, they have a space up here where they can hang some clothes. I used some hanging signs and they're attached to here, and I even added a diagonal chimney. There is one thing I need to add over here though, and that is another field. And there we have a smaller flower field using the alliums. And with all of that in, I actually want to start on a fishing house right here, because there's a river right here and I have not created any lore around where these people get their food, and I think this will be a perfect spot to do that. And for this building, I want to use some of the dead fire coral. For this house, I want to do something similar to what we've been doing in this region already, and that is working with the mossy cobblestone and the tuff, and then adding in that reddish orange looking chimney with the granite or brick. So I'm just going to continue going around with the tough and mossy bits and also some of that cobblestone and fire coral as well until I get the basic shape of the house. I really haven't had much experience building on diagonals, but this episode I really wanted to get out of my comfort zone with the build types and the diagonal builds. I think I found a pretty good strategy for making them, so I love the diagonal builds, and this one is definitely one of my favorites. Lastly, it is time to place in the deep slate roof and of course the chimney there on the edge of the house. And I have this building done, but I want to create a dock around the back here because it's a fishing house and I think it just makes a ton of sense. So I'm going to start by placing some trapdoors, and I'm going to go up very gradually here and it'll loop around the edge of the house. So I'm going to continue going around with some slabs. And now with a little platform in, I want to create a little pillar right here along the edge, and then I'll create another one right here as well using a little bit of oak wood and some stripped spruce, and then I want to put some slabs on top of these. And I have that same idea using the oak signs, but I'm going to curve them and then place trapdoors on top of them, and it creates that same effect but on an angle, and it looks so cool because you can create angled fences. And I think this is a perfect space to utilize that concept. I have now wrapped the dock around the entire build, and I want to continue it by adding a small section here where a little boat can sit. So I went into a creative world and came up with a little boat design that I really liked, and believe it or not, this is the first boat that I've ever made. Yeah, I really like this design that I came up with. I think it looks so cool. This is the first boat that I've ever made in Minecraft, but these people need a door, so I'm going to give them one. And I'm loving the mix of the mangrove roots and the dark oak fences. I think something like that looks pretty nice under here, and I can continue it over here as well. And this will kind of blend in the water with the deck and not make it look super empty down here. But something else I can do is add in some firefly bushes here, and they will actually give off particles because there's no sunlight, I think. Can come through here and add a little bit more detail later, but I think this is going to look so cool at night. To fill in the space, I gave myself a break from the custom oak trees and put a birch tree there instead, but I put in 2 more along the river edge on the other side. And to continue the terraforming, I extended a path from the bridge all the way around the lumber mill to the side entrances. I put a little tree in using some spruce fences and acacia leaves and started working on a different style of pine tree using full tough blocks and slabs that I really like. So now after that decoration, we've put this build into the environment and it looks really good. But I love terraforming, so I am not done as I'm heading out to the valley that has needed some terraforming love ever since I booted up this world, and after a good 30 minutes of terraforming, I'd say it is looking way better. And I have 3 houses planned for right here, and I'm going to get started on the first one. And the materials I need will be in these shulker boxes. For the base, I need some tuff, pale moss, cobblestone, deep slate, andesite, and acacia. So I'm going to start with the tuff for the base, also using that side of the deep slate texture, working in some pale moss. All of this is for the dark shadowy tones, and then I'm going to work in with the cobblestone and andesite on the edge here. And now I have this idea laid out for the foundation of the build, and for the second layer here, I'm going to grab some oak, mangrove, stripped spruce, and I want to use some dripstone, light gray terracotta, and brown mushroom blocks. I also forgot I need some packed mud as well. And if you use these 3 blocks, it creates a pretty cool gradient because the dripstone pretty much utilizes all 3 of these colors in that single block. So if you use them all together, they just fit really well together. So I'm going to go up with 4 oak logs here in the corner. I'm going to use dripstone for the main base layer, creating some more pillars. And then I want to add a space here for a window using the scaffolding with the trapdoors on the top and bottom. And then I'm going to use that light gray terracotta with a bit more packed mud here. And I want to add a space for another window, but I can go in here and add some more of that scaffolding. So for the base layer of the house, that gives us something like this, but of course I want to add another spruce trim here. And I was thinking about using a mix of mangrove, spruce trapdoors, spruce logs, the stripped version, and some more mangrove here, which I think works super well with the colors that we already have in this build. I was also thinking for these windows, I wanted, instead of using just the one shutter, to use both, but this one I want to leave open. And then I can add even more signs, of course, right there. It's just time to put in another deep slate roof and, of course, a chimney on the back of the house, and giving the build a little bit more shape with a tiny section that juts out. And now it's time to get started on yet another building for this region. But for this one, I want to alternate with the oak logs and some of the lighter texturing using some birch here at the bottom. And then I'm going to slowly go up into some oak wood. And then I'm going to leave some space here in the middle for some windows, again, just using some scaffolding. And I want to continue using the oak and birch around the build, occasionally adding in those scaffolding windows, where all I have to do now is add in a roof, using the warm tones this time for some variety. I want to build another house here that is very similar to the one I just made, this time using a darker roof instead. And now with that done, we have extended this region by a lot. But I am not done, because I want to add a windmill here at the top of this little cliff that I made. I have experimented a lot with build ideas this episode, as I built up my first water wheel, my first boat, and my first windmill. If you're wondering why I'm really not that experienced as a builder, maybe I've developed some skills for building in this game, but the builds you're looking at in my episodes are really some of the few that I've made in this game over the last few years. But I'd love to go through some of my old worlds someday and showcase my build progression, because I think it's developed pretty quickly. But if you're looking to get better at building in Minecraft, because people are always asking me, I'd say you just have to build more and look to get better. I've recently became obsessed with trying to get better at building, getting out of my comfort zone with certain builds, and really pushing myself with the shapes and textures and everything I can. I'm not trying to be the best builder, I don't think I am or ever will be, but I am just trying to build the best that I can, because I think seeing my build progression over time in this world will be so cool in the end. And this is the first windmill I've ever built or even attempted, and even though it was a challenge, I am really happy with the design that I came up with. Now with the building and the tower, and I actually want to add in the windmill, of course, because there's no point of making this without the actual windmill. And for this, I'm going to need a ton of scaffolding, pale oak trapdoors, even more trapdoors, spruce fences and fence gates, and that's about it. But I'm going to need to craft up a ton more spruce trapdoors, and I'm hoping that 57 oak trapdoors is also enough. And now for this windmill here, I want to start using some spruce trapdoors here at the bottom, because I want to put scaffolding on top of them, and the trapdoors allow me to do that. And I want to go up 4 blocks. And then I just want to put some pale oak behind them. So now we have a texture like that for the windmill. And I want to see if it's possible here to actually have it floating. So we can go up another 3 blocks here, like that, and have the windmill look like it's a little curved here, like it's moving. Originally, I kept it just straight up and down, but my friend told me to do this, and I think it looks so much better. So it's going to be moving just a little bit here. Except actually, to make it more seamless, I can remove that trapdoor. Perfect. And I want some spruce trapdoors at the top here as well. And then I want to go down with some spruce trapdoors, just to give the windmill a frame so it doesn't look like scaffolding on the edge, which I think would look really dumb. I want to use oak trapdoors to continue the windmill look, but I want to use some spruce fences here on the side if I can, and I can. That's perfect. Can place them right here with some open oak trapdoors, and it connects, which is really nice. And if I just work around with some scaffolding, I should be able to just continue this going all the way down. I'm going to go in free cam to show you guys. I added in this fence right here as well. It doesn't connect, but from a distance it just looks like it's a part of the windmill still. Now it's time to connect every single blade here in the middle. First I need one more chain, and then I need to build this out, I think up to here. I want to use grindstones facing around that will connect to the blades. And for my first time building a windmill in this game, I think that's a really, really cool design. And I really like the movement that it gives off with that slight angle. And I just think it looks so cool. And I eventually want to add in a bunch of windmills, I think, around this area. Now, there's been so many buildings added in this episode, and still this place feels super, super empty. And I want to make a little custom forest here. Yeah, I want to put a custom forest inside this already build heavy video. I want to put an entire custom forest here. There's also a ton of custom trees I need to sprinkle around this area. So it's going to be material gathering time once again to get some stuff for some custom trees. And it feels like I've spent half this episode collecting spruce wood. So here we are again, going over to the mega spruce biome. I began clearing out more forest because I am a terrible person, or Wombaat. You'll never really know until I do a face reveal, which is at 100,000 subs. Anyways, I built up so many custom trees, and this took me all morning and half of my day. Each tree takes about 45 minutes to make in a creative world, so I can plan them out in advance, and it also takes a good 45 minutes to build them in the actual world. So the process of making a custom forest is extremely boring and time-consuming and mind-numbing. So I am extremely burnt out on this part of the world because of it. I was building this custom tree here. I'm almost done. I think this is the last one in this section of the forest. And I fell into a hole right here. I made a creeper upset. I'm just going to go into free cam and show you what I saw. Oh my god, I flew out of here so fast. I saw 28 skeletons staring at me. This is a real problem, and I don't know what to do about it. I think maybe just unleashing 200 iron golems down here. I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a death trap. Just going to continue building this tree here, though, and forget that it ever happened. You know what? I think I'm done. I think I'm done building trees this episode. It is absolutely melting my brain. I don't know if I can continue building trees. It is seriously such a boring thing to build in the game that it's really upsetting me, and it's honestly, I think I'm depressed now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw out all the junk I don't need, and I'm just going to grab stuff to decorate the forest floor here because it's looking a little boring. I first want to make some patches of rooted dirt here for the floor. Nothing too crazy, just something to get your eyes away from all of the green that is over here. So right there, we just have a few patches. I think that's a good place to start. It's honestly kind of crazy how much of a difference bone meal makes in an area. This area was looking so boring, and now it just looks like a forest. But honestly, just mixing in these little dead patches and a forest, I think, goes a long way. One thing I do want to do now that there is bone meal is add a bunch of the leaf litter, and this stuff does not really last very long. Kind of create some shapes in here so it doesn't look completely random, something like that. But that right there is like a stack. You need so much of this stuff to cover a small area, but it does so much for the immersion of a forest. I do like these flowers. I'm gonna put some of these in here. I kind of like the way that might look in here. And actually, while I'm in here, because these flowers all have the same looking color, even have some of them going into the road a little bit. And yeah, that looks pretty nice. I like that. Okay, that looks a lot better. Oh my god, dude, are you kidding me? But honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm so burnt out on this video. Making trees has, I mean, I'm actually about to fall asleep. It's so exhausting. It's so tiring that I honestly don't know if I have the motivation to build anymore in this episode. I'm just actually exhausted. What's up? What's up, fella? But we've done so much. I mean, the area was just this small section here. There wasn't even these fields, and now we've expanded all the way over here. And I really like the progress that I've made in this episode, but honestly, I don't know how much I can do right now. I am just so burnt out right now on this section of the world. So I think this, honestly, I think this is going to be the end of the video. I've never felt this way about a project so far in this world, where I just want to like get away from it. but I kind of feel that over here. Not too much like motivation or inspiration for this area in the world right now, and I think that's okay. I can revisit a lot of this in a later episode, but I still love what we're working with here. I added in some detail here in this house, and I really like this potato field right here. It'd honestly be cool if you can lock these into these random stages like this, because it just looks so much better on the eyes. Maybe like off camera I'll go through and add some more, but I am just so done. I want to get away. But if I take like a fly through here, I do want the forest to have a similar vibe to this, where it's super detailed. Really, all there is left to do in this episode is take a little splash and go fishing. I don't know why I said that. And honestly, I don't know where my fishing rod is. I think it's in my shulker box. Oh my god, this is the first time I'm like traveling through here. This looks sick. Oh my god, it feels so cool. And honestly, this is a good place to catch a fish. It's a good place to catch a book. I mean, not a fish. I don't care about the fish. Okay, I caught the book. It is Sweeping Edge 3 and Fortune 3. I'm lucky I don't need those enchants. Those are pretty useless to me. The book is the Sweeping Edge Fortune 3 book. I'm going to go over here into the library and grab the book from last episode. If you want to name this book right here in my hand, Why is the Pig Going Insane Behind Me? Yeah, I'm talking about you, homie. You good? That's like actually adorable, dude. This is the longest running Minecraft world I've ever had, as I've survived 1,500 days. In that time, I've built up this amazing world. And then there's this iron farm. It's just a little broken. So today, I'm not only fixing this broken iron farm, but also decorating an already existing moss farm by creating a ruined castle. But there's honestly some side projects that I want to complete first before I get started on the main part of this video. And this is literally a side project because I want to decorate this side of the river I built on last episode so it's not as boring to look at. So I spammed a bunch of foliage around, creating those cattails with green glass and brown candles, and really just doing a lot of what I've already done on the river edge before. I'm really just bringing that green mess of grass and other stuff to that spot on the river that I already have decorated from the river video. Eventually I'll carry around some of the rocks and further details, but I really like the way this looks. I don't want to get started on this side yet. I'm not sure what I want to put over here, but I do know what I need for this episode, and that is I need probably 5 shulker boxes of tuff. So I went over to the only place I knew had tuff, and that was this cave right in front of the Dwarven Gate that goes all the way down to deep slate level, which ended up being the perfect spot to mine tuff for this episode. And by perfect, I actually mean perfect. I never had to leave this cave. It was just one long hallway of tuff blocks that I spent a good couple hours mining up because I need almost 80 stacks of tuff for the project today. But I have collected 4.5 shulker boxes of tuff. And while I'm over here, I'm just going to AFK at the creeper farm because I am almost out of rockets. Well, I'm done AFKing the gunpowder farm. I did a nice little full body workout, and I'm feeling good. Let's see if I got a lot of gunpowder. Not as much as I would hope for about like an hour of AFKing, but it'll be okay. But it's time to repair up my pickaxe and do some more material gathering. This is my favorite part of every single episode. Let's get it. Let's do it. Oh my god, I hope that mountain didn't scare you as much as it scared me, but I'm here in a place that is just as terrifying as a mountain, and that is the Nether, as I'm using every type of basalt block for today's build. The material list is pretty much just one gray block after another, but recently I found that using basalt along with deep slate is actually a great combination for builds. I've also discovered that I really like chopping pale oak trees down, mostly because it goes so well with the blocks that I previously mentioned. There is one block that I need that is not so depressing and gray, and I'm actually staring right at it. It's that. I wasn't staring right at it. But why is there always so many animals in these areas of the world? Like on top of hills and cliffs. I mean, this is insane. It's like a whole farm up here. Maybe I'll make a farm up here. Honestly, this is a cool place to make a farm. I might do that, like a little farmhouse up here. But that is for future me to figure out, because I bet you guys are trying to figure out why I need cherry leaves. And that's because I'm planning on making some more custom trees today. Chicken jockey. Oh my god. And he's on the new chicken. Help me. Oh my god. The cool chicken jockey. I might have to bring this guy home. Ow. Why are you still here? Or is there another one? Oh my god. Getting jump scared by zombie children. I don't know what happens if you breed this guy with a normal chicken, but if we can get a bunch of these at home, that would be sick. It spawned with the new variant. That's so funny. So this is actually the only cold chicken that's over here. So he's a rare buddy. He's rare. He's a nice little hat on. That's so funny, though. I might make a little leaf tower here. Use it to glide all the way back home. And this could be a disaster, or this could be a very successful and smart maneuver here. I don't think I made that tall enough, but I want to try it out. He's flopping around. He's having a good time up there. This is amazing. This is so good. I want him to land safely in the water here. I don't think they take fall damage. I just don't want him to like fly into the side of the bridge right there. Top tier moment in Minecraft. That was amazing. For now, you're going to be best friends with my horse that has not been named. I forgot to get the name of the horse. Actually, let me find a name for the horse and then we're good. No, stay in there. And I love it when you name animals after food. So I'm naming the horse Pesto, and the anvil broke. You know, I know he likes to jump, but I just like the name Pesto. Mr. Pesto. Did the chicken leave? Chicken? Oh no. Why does everybody leave me? Chicken. Oh no. Did the chicken despawn? I think that just ruined my day. My day is actually ruined. I can't even... I don't even know if I'm going to be able to sleep properly. The chicken is just gone from existence. This bothers me so much. All my friends just... they like to leave. Okay, I don't know what's happening. I'm collecting diorite. I just found a goat horn. Just laying right here. I don't know why. Just got a random goat horn while I'm mining some diorite. This episode has been really weird. I really don't have the courage to speak much further on the incident that just occurred with the chicken, but I do have the courage to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel because I just recently got fired and am now doing this full time. So any support on the channel literally keeps me going and means so much more than you would ever think. Right now I'm collecting the last bit of acacia I need and crafting down every single variant of tough block, and of course this would not be one of my builds without crafting a ton of candles, which maybe gives me a good bit idea. Maybe I can make a candle factory one of these episodes. But right now I need to head over to the Pale Garden to collect some hanging moss. So I'm over here at the Pale Garden, just 2,500 blocks away, and I'm just going to collect as much of the hanging moss as I can for this build. Well, there I've collected a good amount of the pale hanging moss. I don't want to stick around here for long because there is some scary little guys that come across here, but I'm actually going to collect some of these ferns while I'm at it though. Now all there is left for me to do is grab a ton of deep slate, so I'm just going to grab this empty shulker box and enter the caves, where I am collecting the last material I need, which is deep slate. I plan on using this for the terraforming project that I have. That brings us right into making the new iron farm, which first is relocating the villagers because these guys are really annoying and I want to be as safe as possible, so I put them in boats with the goal of separating the villagers and zombie from the old farm, traveling out to where I'm building the new farm, and well, building the new iron farm high above the sky where I'm going to build today. Now it's just time to link up a few nether portals to easily transport these characters to their new forever home. And actually, I'm just going to lower this guy all the way over here. Oh my god, I hope this works. If this works in one try, I will actually be so happy. Just get down there. Just get down there. So he's in. And now I just need to get the villagers in. I don't want there to be any way for the villagers to get out. 2 blocks. There's no way they can get up. They should just go through this portal and run straight into here. And I should probably do this one villager at a time just to be as careful as possible. So right now what I'm hoping is that the villager comes out of here and into the boat. But right now I just want to get him into the nether. Since he doesn't have a job, I can just continuously right click him and he's just going to follow me. Straight into the nether. That's actually amazing. I love that. Please just get in the boat. Let's go. Okay. Oh, this is amazing. This is so fun. I cannot wait for the happy gas in the new update because this will make this so much easier though. Hopefully he goes through the nether portal. Oh, perfect. Oh, please. Oh, yes. Now it's just time to get the other 2 in here and it hopefully will go smooth. See if I lead the boat and then climb up here. Your big head. If that's the way this thing like turned into a disaster, I would have been so upset. But this game spared me from disaster as transporting them to the new iron farm went pretty smooth. Oh, I'm like fighting this guy. He doesn't want to go off the edge. Thank you. Oh, this guy. He was willing. He was willing to do it. With the zombie and villagers in place, all I have to do is finish recreating the iron farm, where now after over 1,500 days, I can finally fall asleep knowing I have a constant flow of iron in this world. And now I can finally get started on the build for today's episode. And I first want to create a bunch of custom cliffs over here for this ruined castle to stand on and to cover up the moss farm. And for that, I want to use some pale oak, deep slate, some basalt, and some smooth basalt. And let me just grab a little bit more basalt as well, and probably a little bit more deep slate. Now for these cliffs, I wanted to kind of work up with the smooth basalt, the deep slate, the basalt, and the pale oak wood. Kind of like that. Now it's going to look a lot better on a larger scale. I know I spent a little bit there explaining the cliffs I'm going to make, but I'm actually not doing cliffs right now because I have a pretty good amount of basic terraforming to do before I can get started on anything fancy. So I'm creating paths around this build using different types of tuff and pale moss while doing some basic terraforming work to make it all flow together. The area that I'm working today isn't really that big, so I want every path that I'm making to stand out a little bit. I have some basic lore for why this castle is even here, but I can get to that later, because now I have the framework to make some custom cliffs. Before I get started doing anything else, before I get started on these cliffs, I'm gonna light this up. I've made the mistake of not doing this in previous episodes, and you know, it could easily result in my death, and it's just really annoying hearing zombies just and it's very important to do that over here by the moss farm because I do not want a creeper blowing this up. Wait a minute, I hear so many mobs under here. Oh no, I'm not jumping down there. Oh my god. Oh, it's time to go grab the torches again. I hear so many skeletons down there. It's just like a little skeleton factory down here. Okay, I think I'm good now. And for these cliffs, I want to start by wrapping it around the area that I have laid out here. Up over here like that, and it's going to work its way up here. I love terraforming. I think it's my favorite thing to do in this game, but I think it's one of those things that I have to do with the easy place on, which essentially just places the block perfectly every time within the schematic that I have. So I don't have to waste time getting the correct block orientation because these cliffs in particular use a variety of different textures of deep slate and basalt, just using a different axis, and the easy place mode really saved my life here. Not only does easy place make this way faster to create, but also if I had to place every single one of these deep slate and basalt blocks in the correct orientation, it would take me so long and I would lose my patience and probably never upload this video. And I like uploading videos for you guys. I also like talking about lore, or at least lore in light amounts. While I was brainstorming lore for why there was going to be a ruined castle here, I first asked myself why people would leave this place, and I actually don't know, so give me ideas for why the people of this castle fled. Maybe it's dragons, I don't know. Or maybe I just cooked too hard with these custom cliffs that have burnt down the entire castle. And out of all of the custom cliffs that I've ever made in this game, I think these might be my favorite. I love the texturing. The mix of this side of the deep slate texture, this side of the basalt texture, the other side of the deep slate texture going down, and then having the deep slate tiles there, I think just looks amazing, and I love these cliffs. But right now, what I want to get started on is I think I actually want to build the Iron Farm Tower first, and then everything around it. So there is a big Gothic-style tower that'll sit right here that covers up the Iron Farm because it's very ugly, and I wanted a reason to cover it up, and this tower is that reason. This tower uses a lot of the same texturing though, so I'm going to go through with some of the smooth basalt, some of the deep slates, the tuff, some of the normal basalt, some polished basalt as well, and some mossy cobblestone, some normal cobblestone. And there's a visitor. Hello? I don't think I need any of this. The wildflowers are kind of cool, but I already have them. Get out of my way. Oh my god, just trample me, please. Thank you. And with all the blocks in my inventory, I actually want to grab some clay as well to match some of the highlights that I have in my inventory. So this is, I think, the entire block palette that I'm going to be using. The first step is I want to create a staircase right here that'll go up to the entrance of the tower. And I'm going to gradually go up using tough brick slabs and some full blocks. And it works its way up to about here. And I grab this shulker box with the polished tuff, and I'm going to use that for a big archway right here. So this will go up 8 blocks, and I'm going to grab a full polished tuff block attached to a slab that's attached to a couple more full blocks, and I'm going to do the same thing over here with a full block and then that slab underneath. And now we have the archway to a tower right here. And now I put in these supports here on the side, but I have a cool idea for some candles right here. But for that, I actually need copper, and I don't think I have any over here. So I'm going to go over and find some copper. And I know by the shulker monster, I have an entire stack of waxed copper blocks. And I also wanted to grab some iron bars as well. I'm going to turn this into lightning rods. 21 is definitely enough. So let me just fly on up here And I want to put a couple iron bars here with a lightning rod on top of it, and then a few candles, and I can light these candles later. And we have 6 total. Some of them are broken though. This is a ruined tower, and I don't want them to all be filled up with candles. After adding in the archway and the candles in front, I have to build up the actual tower, adding in some broken windows and some overgrowth parts using that mossy cobblestone, and really just adding in mini streaks of texture instead of making it look super noisy. My main goal with this build is to make the parts that are still standing look really old. The blocks that I'm using are pretty noisy, but in bunches and streaks, they do a good job of getting that really aged down look that I'm going for. I now have a pretty good amount of the tower created, and it's looking pretty good, but it's at this point in the tower where I'm getting worried about the iron golems spawning in, so that means I'm going to have to go and find some string, and I honestly don't know if I have any. Luckily, I am actually pretty close to where I have a string farm in this world, but there is this cave, which is the first XP farm that I ever made in this world, and there is no string in here. I took it all a while ago, so I'm gonna have to actually use the farm. That is the exact amount of string that I need, so I can just head on out of here. And I really just wanted to add string to areas like this right here that I don't want iron golems to spawn on, just to be safe, because I don't want an iron golem to spawn up here and then have the farm not run for hundreds of days. And if I don't notice, then I will just be wondering why I'm not getting any iron. Because I want the iron farm to work over the entire course of this world, I need to make sure I'm placing string down in places where iron golems have potential to spawn. So I have to carefully build up the rest of the tower while also placing string down occasionally. I really wanted this tower to look like a dark fantasy style gothic tower, and to achieve this look I added in some pointy details and of course some broken stained glass windows. This entire castle is still ruins, but I did want to preserve a lot of the small details. Instead of going for something that is almost unrecognizable, I wanted to instead look like it was abandoned or partially destroyed, but still standing tall. And I think this tower is going to be completely iron golem proof. I don't want to run the farm yet, but I think it'll be okay. But the tower, minus some small details, is done. I added like a stained glass in the middle with some glazed terracotta and a warped log there to give it some color. I did want to grab some of the pale hanging moss that I had though and decorate a little bit to make it look slightly overgrown, and I've added a few more details. I added some hanging pale moss on the outside. Can't really tell that it's there, so it's fine. Now that I have the tower completed, I want to give this place some character, so I'm adding in what would have been the main building for this castle, which in this moment is an archway that leads to the moss farm. And there we have a cool little archway. It's connected to even more, but I wanted to stop here because I've almost run out of rockets and I've been using a lot of them to get up and down. I love this archway that it creates here in the middle. I think it just looks so nice. Instead of using scaffolding or blocks to get up and down, I use like 2,000 rockets every single video. So that comes with many short bursts of AFKing the gunpowder farm. But that's okay, I just need a better gunpowder farm. With all that aside though, I want to give the main building some more height, so I'm adding in a second level with some big spaces for windows, and also adding in some chains and iron bars occasionally because this is where the iron farm is, and also it gives the build a little bit more age and helps with the broken down look that I'm going for. But I actually do have a really cool railing to put on top of here. I need some polished stuff slabs, but I do need some of these gray candles and some of these spruce trap doors. So for this railing right here, I wanted to start with a wall, and that will go into some slabs. And I was thinking I'll do something like this, and I'll end here with another wall and then a part of the railing that fell in the ground here. And I was thinking I'll put a trapdoor here to continue that broken effect. And then on every single wall, I'll place a spruce trap door to connect the top of it. And from a distance, spruce actually blends pretty much directly in with tough. And then on the slabs, I'm going to put a candle. I'm also going to put some chains that go across all the way up to here. Of course, this railing can't be for a small section, so I'm building it over top of this entire section of the building and creating a bit more of imagination here by adding in tiny ruin parts of what could have been another part of the castle. And when looking at this from a distance, just that tiny bit of broken castle peeking up really makes it look like there could have been so much more. Looking back on it though, I probably could have done a little bit more with this idea. But with that done, I'm going to continue this curving this way, or something that will look very similar to what I've been doing. Yeah. Now all I have to do is add a little bit more onto what I've already done, which really isn't anything complicated, as I'm just trying to create cool spaces to look at from down below with the big archways and pillars. I've left a lot of room to further expand this castle or the place around it. I'm creating a lot of pillars and parts of this castle that don't really have a story yet, so this place for now is left up to the imagination, but one day I could come back here and create a whole civilization that lives within the ruins of what used to be a city. It is now the next day. This took a little bit longer than I expected. I went to bed, and I just have one section, one little corner here of a tower to put, and then I'm finally done with the actual castle part of it. With that done, it's just time to add in some of these smaller details that I have for this build. The first of which is a fountain that sits right in front of the castle using some deep slate. And I want to use black candles just to give it a little bit more shape here on the top. And then I don't want this well to be working. I don't want it to be like a functional well. Like it's dried out. This place hasn't existed in many, many years. So instead people come here, put candles and light the candles in the well. So I'm going to put them around the sides of the build. And there, I think it looks really cool. And in fact, I think I want to add one more right here. And then I'm going to go through and light some of them. I need to get my flint and steel, so I remember to do that. Yeah, it's a little creepy in here, for sure. But I think it's kind of cool. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really don't know what happened to my mic in the rest of the recordings for this video. But right now, I'm just adding in some small details. This being a retaining wall that will outline the path that I have laid out. I really wanted to add this in to really force you within the ruins themselves. And after a little bit more details using some candles and some iron bars with candles on top of them, I really, really love the way this path looks, and the entire ruined castle so far I think looks amazing. But right now I'm on a trip over to the desert to get some foliage for this build, which is going to be pink. I want to use a ton of different pink flowers, this one being the new cactus flower, which is a very useful one to get because you can put it on any block in the game. So I spent a little bit of time here in the desert talking to the camel that I just saw and collecting some cactus flowers. I ended up putting these cactus flowers in patches around the build because while I was looking for art inspiration in this episode, I saw a ton of these ruined places that have one specific color to match them, and for this episode I chose pink, which will end up being a super common theme throughout my world and channel. But these cherry blossom trees really stand out and make this space so much cooler, and the entire project right now I'm just trying to make spaces look almost artistic themselves, and I think I did a pretty good job with that, and this one might be my favorite. But with that done, I really only have one more thing I want to add, and that is a banner for this castle or city, and I spent a decent amount of time coming up with the banner design. And this is going to start with a lightning rod right here, and then I'm going to go up with 4 pale oak fences that I cannot place, and then on top of that I'm going to place an end rod and a white candle. And then to give it a banner flag kind of look, I'm going to use some of the fence gates on the side with some more candles on top. And then to give it a little bit more depth, I'm going to put a fence gate here, and I'm going to open it. But now that I have that, I want to place the banners in a specific pattern right here. But I'm going to place them going down this way, and this is what the banner pattern looks like. It looks pretty cool. It's very, very faded, but I think it's cool. And then I'm going to place one down here, and then I'm going to use this side of the banner down here. So it's a pretty long banner, and it's actually broken right here because I'm going to make it on fire with some stained glass that I have in my inventory, and I think it's going to create such a cool effect. I'm using orange, black, and white stained glass to act as fire coming off the banner, with the attempt to try and make it look like wind is carrying the flame to the side. I also used some orange candles and lit them to look like flames going up as well, and I copied the banner on the other side, and because there's an end rod in the build, it actually looks like it's glowing at night. And I think this project is about done. I think it's looking so nice. I think the pop of pink in many areas, I think the green banners add enough difference and color that it makes it stand out a lot more. But I really, really love it. I just need a redstone torch right here. It should turn on. I'm going to break this quickly so an iron golem doesn't spawn up here. And right now it seems to be working, that there doesn't seem to be any other spawns for the iron golem. They seem to be spawning up here, which is good, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. In the meantime, I want to sprinkle around some string because when it rains, there's snow that appears up here. So I've been putting string in places while this has been running, and I haven't heard any other commotion other than them dying, so I think this will be good. I think it'll work. I actually need to check the rates in this chest right now to know whether or not it's running. It actually has 2 stacks and 41 iron. So let me go over to spawn chunks for a little bit to see if this actually runs when I'm out of the chunks, which is what I want it to be doing. I wanted to spend some time away from the iron farm to make sure the spawn chunks were actually loaded, so I built up some custom birch trees. And yeah, I'm going to use this end of the video as an excuse to finish what I didn't finish last episode instead of being lazy and have this be plain for another hundreds of days, because that would be very sad. You know what would also be sad? People wandering off the path here. So what I want to do is make a new fence design that I saw on the Bakery Minecraft server using signs and different types of fences with, of course, the brown candle on top of them. And I really love experimenting with fence designs. I think this one looks really good. A cool little fence. And actually, I think I saw this on the Bakery Minecraft server. Somebody do something like this. I don't know if this is exactly what they did, but it works and it's so cool. Something else I want to do is strip down some of this oak wood, and I want to make some hanging signs. Can you not use the wood? You actually need a strip log, and I just want to make some oak hanging signs. That's all I wanted to do. And all I want to do is make one of those cool road signs that tells you which direction a like city or town is, because I think those look so cool. And then of course the candle on top of it, because I'm obsessed with brown candles. I love them so much. And yeah, you get something like that. I could definitely make it look a little bit different here like that, maybe make it taller. I don't know. I think it's okay though. And then what I can do is I can just type in here whatever name is for like this little town. But now with that done, I want to continue these fences in this area. So I built up some fences using that same design leading into this town that I made last episode, where I wanted to put a horse stable for maybe people who live in this little town here, or some travelers who want to keep their horses in some stables. But I don't want to put anything here yet because I need to plan out another ruined castle that I want to build right here in this little view. I don't know why, I just wanted to build it. I saw an image on Pinterest and was like, hey, that's cool, let me just do that. And that's the kind of mood I was in for this episode. I just wanted to build things that I thought would look cool. So this build in particular is based off of an image I saw on Pinterest, like usual, and I just wanted to put it in this space. Does it fit? Nope. Not really at all, but I think with a few custom trees sprinkled around here, like always, it'll fit better into the environment. But this was a very overgrown ruined tower that I thought looked pretty cool in this little space here that was empty. Honestly, I love detailing my world with some of these little things. I kind of just went through in a creative world and planned all of this out, and now I built it in my world, and I really like it. I don't have brown candles. I'm gonna wait. I don't feel like getting them right now. I don't feel like going to the desert to get them, or the jungle. But I made this little well. I actually saw this design on Google. I don't know who made it, but it's honestly a really, really cool well design that I think I might use in other places of the world, but it looks really, really nice. I also added in this graveyard to tell a story here about maybe the people who lived here a while ago, or maybe the people who lived in the ruined tower or whatever that is. And I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. I like the little tombstone designs that I made using some gray candles with some walls on top of them with some stained glass here to give it this one just a little different shape. But this is actually going to be the end of this episode. It's a pretty chill episode, and I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I'm on my way to surviving 2,000 days in this hardcore world that I call a forever world. I know I'm only on day 1,656, but I plan on keeping this world forever. But I haven't really started any forever projects, which is exactly why I'm going to be creating a mega city in today's episode. Well, not exactly an entire mega city today, but instead I'm starting a city project with a city gate and farming village outside of it. This is a project that I'm starting right now that might take me years to complete. So if you want to see me complete this project, make sure to like and subscribe. I actually have an unbelievable amount of terraforming to do before I even get started on the material gathering or doing anything in this project. So what I'm going to do is get all of the dirt and grass that I have laying around in this world, and I'm just going to start placing it. The good thing is I actually have a ton of dirt. Right here in this storage room, I have so much dirt, and there's a ton of shulker boxes full of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load up on all of the dirt that I possibly can right now. After grabbing the dirt, I set up a haste 2 beacon and started getting rid of a ton of the landscape, which made me realize I did not need to grab any dirt, as I was taking the landscape down so much that I ended up just collecting the dirt and grass I needed as I was terraforming. This ended up being a way bigger terraforming project than I initially anticipated. So a part of the project that I thought would take maybe an hour quickly turned into multiple hours of constant digging and placing grass blocks to smoothen out the landscape, so it's fit to build on, which also means many trips over to the gold farm to fix up my tools. My goal for this area is to take a once very sharp slope down the mountain and make it flat enough to build giant fields on, as I want this area outside of the eventual city to be a pretty big farming region, which requires a lot of space. It took nearly 4 hours of work, but it is finally completed. Which brings me right into my stone storage room to gather materials, where I'm checking off any blocks and items I already have laying around in storage, but that's only a small percentage of the materials I need to gather, which means it's time to grab some empty shulker boxes and mine up some deep slate, because for this project alone I need almost 150 stacks of deep slate, and that's not even a joke. The material list for this project is genuinely insane, which means it's time to stay up until 5 AM collecting deep slate and hopping in a Discord call with my friend to talk about life, which brings me right into the next material, which is tuff, as I found this unexplored cave in my deep slate mine that needed lighting up, but this place had plenty of tuff to mine, which thankfully was all I needed, and I even got the Instamine buff from the beacon to make it go by a little quicker. Where the next step is actually over at my nether portal, as the many hours of mining really hurts my pickaxe, so obviously it's soul harvesting time, which brings me into a very similar place, the mangrove swamp. It's actually not similar at all, it's quite different, but so is the reason I'm here, as I needed mud to craft down into packed mud later, and since it was nearby I also grabbed some mangrove logs and a little bit of jungle wood from the jungle right next door. Which, after gathering a bit of that, took me on an unexpected journey over to the end. Bet you didn't expect that to be the next stop, but I needed more shulker boxes because I've recently discovered that Minecraft is just a never-ending shulker box and rocket gathering simulator. But we can put that little game theory aside, as I took a visit over at the ruined moss farm to, well, collect some moss that I needed for mossy cobblestone. Which takes me to probably the most inconvenient block to gather in the game, copper grates, as I needed to place them down and use an axe to get them to the precise oxidation level that I needed. I also needed a ton of ferns, so I made a temporary fern farm in the middle of the plains biome. So now I have this really bad fern farm that should work. If I just press this, it'll do all the dispensers. I actually put cobblestone in here to test it out. I do have a decent amount of bones that I'm just going to craft all into bone meal. So that's all the bone meal that I have. And I'm just going to put bone meal in every single one of these. So all I have to do is replant them, press this button again, and break all of the ferns while also replanting them. And I do that until I have enough ferns. So now I actually do have enough ferns for this build. There is one block though that I need just a couple thousand of. Yeah, I need over 22,000 flowers, not of the same type, but of different types. I need over 22,000 flowers, which consists of all the tulip variants, alliums, and cornflowers, and the only way to get this many flowers is, of course, an automatic farm. Now, with all of the materials gathered, all I have to do is go out to a biome that has the flowers I need. The first flower that I'm going to get is all of the tulips. I'm going to get those out of the way first, and then figure out the other ones. The first tulip I want to check off my list is the orange tulip, so I took a trip on over to the flower forest biome and started creating a very simple automatic flower farm. Now with this farm in, I put some bone meal in the dispenser. All I have to do now is press this lever and I should get a ton of orange tulips. Well, I forgot one other observer on that side. It should work now. Perfect. And I need, I think, 2,200 of these orange tulips. I need a lot of them, so I'm gonna be here for a while. I ran that with all of the bone meal that I have in this world, and I still need a ton. I still need to fill up pretty much this entire shulker box and a little bit more. So what I'm going to have to do is go on a big adventure to collect bone meal, which took me on over to the nether to collect the full bone blocks that randomly generate in the soul sand valley, because for every one bone block you get 9 bone meal, which makes it the easiest way of collecting bone meal fast in this game. Unless I make an overpowered farm, which I'll probably do at some point, but right now I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. But after about an hour, that did give me enough bone meal to finish collecting the orange tulips, and also allowed me to get started on the other tulip variants, like the white ones and the red ones. I need just about 2,000 more of these as well, and after collecting all the red tulips, all that was left for me was the pink tulips. And considering I needed over 6,000 of these, this one took me a little bit longer and a lot more bone meal, but eventually it did give me enough. Now all I have to do is gather 128 stacks of alliums. Yeah, that's not even a joke, I need that many alliums. It was at this point where I thought that the alliums did not spawn in the flower forest, so I actually went back home on top of this like meadow biome area, and it gave me a ton of wildflowers, which I didn't really want. So I actually just headed on back over to the flower forest biome and got all of the alliums I needed there, and it was much more efficient. Where the final material I really need to gather is some grass, so I headed on over to the badlands biome because flowers don't grow there. So now I can grab some materials to start on a path, because it's finally time to enter the building phase of this project, and we have a lot of building today. Before I build any structures though, I want to put this long path that leads down the hill I made to mark exactly where I'm going to be building today, and to obviously give people a clear path to enter the city that will be here eventually. I would love for all of the builds in my world to be connected by roads at some point, but for now this one just starts at the top of the hill and ends at the bottom. There is a point in the road where the path abruptly ends and starts again, because I want to put a stream of water that goes down. So right now I'm creating a very simple bridge to connect the roads together, just using some simple spruce and jungle wood. And after creating the bridge, I started on another pathway that leads back up the hill, where right here I have a space laid out to put a nice little farmhouse alongside this road. This house will use mossy cobblestone, tough deep slate, some acacia, and some pale moss, but I completely forgot to grab it from the material list, so I'm just going to grab it from the moss farm that I made last episode. It's a good reason to be back over here, I guess. And I want to use a mix of deep slate tile stairs, cobble deep slate, and deep slate brick stairs, along with some blackstone as well. And I have a visitor. Why? And I wanted to mix in some of that light gray terracotta and dripstone for accents as well with this color palette like I've been using before. I'm going to start here on the right side of the build. It'll be like a little jut out bit where the door will be, but I'm going to use mossy acacia and some pale moss. That'll go in here a little bit using some tuff, and it'll go back out this way with some mossy cobblestone, pale moss, and another acacia log. And I'm going to continue using some deep slate with a little bit more acacia, pale moss, and I'm also going to mix in some light gray terracotta here at the base with some dripstone as well. This will be a very similar block palette to what I used over in the mining town, where now I've built up some more of the base structure here, and I've fallen down in here. Didn't mean to do that. I want to add in some scaffolding windows, but to leave this side of the window shutter open, I'm going to use some spruce trapdoors on the side of the pale moss block here, and I'm going to open these and then do the same thing on this side but have them be closed. And then this will also have a window as well. I've built up a little bit more, and I'm going to continue adding windows going around this side of the build as well with those window shutters. Again, this one on the side, and then this one I want to also leave open. And I forgot to do this on the other one, but I'm also going to add those spruce signs to give it that little bit extra depth and texture. And now I want to go over here to this section here where the door will be, and I want to get some of those stairs that I have in my inventory. And I want to start bringing this up a little bit with a little roof right here. Just using a mix of that deep slate and blackstone. Of course, continuing the roof design up as well. And topping it off at the top here with some blackstone slabs. And of course, repeating it on this side. And now the entrance of the building is in, it's just time to finish off the main part of the building, which was just me continuing the main structure, adding on a roof to another side section of the house, and adding in some other subtle details going up. Where now the last thing to do is to add in that deep slate and blackstone textured roof that I love so much. And unless these people want their house to be filled with smoke, they also need a chimney. For this chimney though, I want to do something a little bit different here with some stained glass, similar to what I did in the last episode with some gray, light gray, and white stained glass. I also need some black stained glass panes, but I think I forgot to craft some down, so there we go, 16 is enough. All of this glass is to add in a slight detail of smoke that comes out of the chimney. And from a distance, this should just give off a campfire smoke effect without actually having one in there, and I think it looks super nice, especially when you're looking at it from a distance. But even up close right here, I think it still gives off a pretty nice effect. It even has some wind effect on it as well, and I'm really liking this house. I did forget one last detail, and that is a window right here. I'm gonna close those and put a window shutter here on the right side. And I think this house is giving off a very old looking farmhouse. Now there is some details around here. You can see there's a lot of holes in the ground. That's because I want to put in a ton of farmland here with some wheat. But for that, I'm gonna need about 1,200 wheat seeds. Luckily, when I was running those automatic flower farms, it created a ton of wheat seeds, so I should be good. So to create this farmland, I'm just going to grab a ton of dirt and a ton of wheat seeds. I just want to go around filling in the gaps that I left earlier while I was terraforming and filling them in with farmland and wheat seeds. Eventually, the wheat will grow into that full wheat stage, which will make the area surrounding the house look like a shattered wheat field of sorts. I was thinking about different ways of implementing fields in my world instead of just one big blob, and I thought this could look really cool. This whole idea of mine of doing different types of field designs is definitely noticeable later in the episode when there's going to be giant flower fields, but for now, I have this area laid out with all of the wheat seeds. That was honestly not nearly as painful as I thought it would be. It was honestly kind of satisfying placing all of this wheat down, and I think it's already looking pretty cool around here. Once it grows up, it's gonna look really cool. What I want to do now, though, is I want to grab some azalea leaves if I can find them in the shulker box. And they're actually right here, so I'm gonna grab probably 4 to 5 stacks of azalea leaves. I also want to grab some of the tall dry grass that I have, some ferns, and some of the short grass that I have. I'm also gonna need a little bit of bone meal for this as well, because I want to semi-border these around using some azalea leaves and occasionally put in some tall dry grass as well to blend in with the wheat. I'm also going to sprinkle some ferns and some short and tall grass around here as well, specifically a lot of the tall grass, and I think the tall grass just adds a little bit of overgrowth behind and in front of these patches of wheat that I think looks super nice. With the shattered wheat field concept, I thought it made more sense for the area surrounding it to be overgrown. Plus, I've been loving the use of tall grass and different types of foliage in my builds lately. I think the time spent adding in these details takes any build to the next level, and really helps with the overall aesthetic. I've actually ran out of the tall dry grass. I need a lot more of it, but you can see the effect that it's already giving off in this area. It'll look so much better with it. Oh my god, I love it so much. I love the way that the overgrowth looks right here. But I just need to take the rest of the bone meal that I have, which is not much, and get a ton of the tall dry grass. So it's time to fly through the other farming region into the other city in this world and use this terrible farm right here. Load up a stack in each of them. This works. I don't know how. It's the worst redstone that exists, but I'm gonna run this farm until I have enough tall dry grass. I've used the rest of the bone meal that I have, and I only have a stack and 26 more, so I'm probably going to have to take another trip to get some bone meal. In fact, I'm just going to go to the bone farm that I have in this world. I actually don't know if I've shown this, but I have a skeleton farm right here that I created, and yeah, I've been using it a little bit. This farm is super slow, so I'm just going to take the bones that I have in my inventory and leave. It's about 3 stacks. Now I have about 3 stacks of tall dry grass. That's definitely going to be enough. But before I start building, isn't it so cool I installed a mod that makes rain sound different on what it's hitting? So the rain on the bed sounds like it's hitting the bed. It's so cool. I like it. You can ignore the giant shulker box mess right here and look at this amazing farmland. I love this. It looks so cool. I think it'll look better once all of the wheat is grown up, but I mean, doesn't this look sick just how it is right now with the wheat at the random stages? Now, there is an empty patch of land right here with a building that's going to be right here, but this is not going to be any regular building. I had the idea of building a ruined house here, so I want to add some blocks into the build that would make sense for a building that maybe caught on fire or was destroyed somehow. And it's also built on a diagonal, so I'm going to go with some basalt as well as some acacia wood. And I'm also going to connect it using some of the cobbled deep slate walls. And this will just further some of the ruined effect that I want to go for, but also the kind of charred effect that you would see from a building that was caught on fire. So the goal here is to use blocks that look like they could belong in a building that was caught on fire or is ruined of some sort. And I think pale oak, acacia wood, and all of these other blocks do really well for that. And I also want to use in some of the waxed exposed copper grates because I think that warm tone does look pretty good for a window here. Maybe I'm going a little overboard with the amount of ruined structures these last 2 episodes, but honestly, it adds so much history into the world that I think I want to continue doing it. I'm also creating not really an interior for this place, but I'm going to sprinkle around some of this pale moss in here. And it looks like I missed a block. Really don't know how I did that, but I'll just put a piece of basalt there. Perfect. In the interior of this place, though, I kind of just want to mix in a lot of the same stuff that I've been mixing in, which is just a lot of these azalea leaves. And then I'm going to go through with some of the grass and ferns through here as well. So now there's a little bit of overgrowth in here. I can even sprinkle in a few more azaleas right here. And I seem to have forgotten that there's supposed to be a chimney here. For some reason, I always forget chimneys exist, but don't worry, this house that is destroyed does have one, which makes sense as the people living here definitely need a way of getting smoke out of their house. So now that this ruined house has a chimney, I also want to go out here in the front, and I want to add in a little overhang here for the door. So there we go. This house, I think, does look really, really cool. It's very similar to that one in terms of the block palette. I don't know why I just started flying. But if you go on the inside, I added in these sections, which could have just been like the supports for what would have been the roof. Things that look like they'd be the inside of the building here or the outside of the building, even adding in some of those iron bars to connect some of the walls in as well. Now for the outside of the build, I of course want to connect the pathway here, but I also want to add in some mangrove roots. And I also want to continue adding some of that farmland over here as well around the house. And of course sprinkling some of that foliage around it as well, which includes those azalea leaves and some more of those mangrove roots around the side. It's now time to add in some overgrowth around the house to really set it into the environment, as this house has probably been here for a while and they can't really pay the guy to mow the lawn anymore. After sprinkling around a little bit more bone meal as well, I love the way this looks. It's super overgrown. You know, maybe the people who took care of this house or lived in this house also took care of some of the wheat, and that's why it's not as pretty as maybe other wheat fields in this world. But I would love to add more ruined buildings and things in this world to give story without actually saying anything. With the 2 farmhouses out of the way, or I guess 1.5 farmhouses, I want to do a little extra terraforming and decorating around the area, specifically around that stream that I was talking about earlier, that I want to add in later on. I'm creating a path that is parallel to the stream and setting the area around it into the environment a little bit more. And now with this land looking a little bit better, a little bit more put together here, with this stream that'll be here eventually, what I want to do is build a tough bridge right here to connect the stream that goes down. So for this tough bridge, of course, I'm going to need some tough blocks, and I'm going to end up using a bunch of different type of tough blocks. So I'm just going to grab everything that I have in here. I do also want to grab some spruce trapdoors, some cobble deep slate walls, and some normal deep slate as well for some shadows underneath the bridge. I want to start using some of the dark blocks here at the bottom to make the bridge darker underneath, and working up with a ton of different types of tough for the rest of the bridge, making sure to add in walls occasionally to give it a broken down look. I also want to mention that for this build in particular, I was heavily inspired by a part of Germsy Boy's world that I absolutely loved, so I figured I'd mention that. Building this bridge made me realize, while I've been building a ton of bridges in my world, there's not too many smaller bodies of water like streams, and I think adding this one right here helps this area look a little more unique. But now I'm just going to replace the bottom of this with some mud blocks to make it look just a little bit nicer under here. That's not mud. That's mud right there. Yep. So I began replacing the underside of the bridges with mud to give the stream some depth without actually doing it. Where now it's time to build up the city gate. With all my things packed up and moved over here for the gate, I do have to move some of this back just a little bit. Wasn't much to remove, but I think that'll be good for now. I lied, I actually need to push this back just a little bit more. I first want to make a foundation for a tower that'll be right here, so I'm going to use some deep slate tiles, and I'm going to outline where this build will be with some polished black stone slabs on top of it. And I'm not going to worry about stretching too far this way just yet. I'm going to end up putting a bunch of walls here, so to make it so the walls don't look super weird underneath, I'm going to put some full tough blocks, and then I'm going to go up with a bunch of tough walls to create the beginning of a tower here, with a mix of some cobble deep slate walls as well for some shadows. And in between all the walls, I'm actually just going to go up with some full tough blocks so it can get a nice circle effect with the tough walls and the full blocks. So on the other side, I want to grab a little bit of cobble deep slate and go up with some cobble deep slate down here instead to create a very long shadow. I've now repeated the tower on both sides, but right now I'm going to collect some of the pale oak that I have in here And to start off the second level of this tower, I want to frame it using some polished diorite. And to start on this side first, I'm going to make some shadows using some birch. That'll go up into some of the normal diorite that I have. That'll reach a second layer where I'll start using that polished diorite for another frame right here. On this other side right here though, I want to use some mushroom stems. A little bit more of an off-white. This will also transition into some pale oak. That will go all the way up to where I have the trim. Instead of putting any blocks here where there's an empty space, I'm actually going to be making a city flag using some cherry planks. This will start right here and work its way up a little bit below where this will be, where I'm just going to put 2 more mushroom stems and a polished diorite to finish off the tower look. And there is the city flag right now. It's just a box, but I can do a little bit more to make it look like a flag. I can grab a couple cherry stairs that I have and put them on the bottoms to make it look a little bit more pointed down here. And to make it look like the sign is actually being held up by something, I'm going to grab some spruce fences, some spruce fence gates, as well as some brown candles. And this is kind of a callback from last episode where I'm going to create a nice banner hanging thing up here. I don't know what this will be called, using some candles up here with some fences and fence gates. And I think that's looking pretty good. I started working up with more of the white blocks I had while also adding in space for windows, also making sure to add in some spruce accents to separate from all the white blocks. To add a little bit more detail here though, I want to use some spruce signs to go around, and I'm going to do the same thing on every single layer where there's the polished diorite. And yeah, I'm really liking the detail on that tower. I think that looks really, really cool. Sadly, the flag is a little bit offset here, but once there's a little bit more going on, it will look perfectly fine. With the tower on the right built up, all I'm doing now is creating another tower on the left side of the gate to match the first one I made. For the city walls and gate, I didn't want to add in much color, as my way of building doesn't really utilize too much color in the actual build itself. Where I like to add color in my builds is the accents and the areas surrounding. With that being said, I added in the pink flag and started working on the actual gate entrance using the mix of tough cobblestones and acacia wood. For now, I want to use some stripped spruce and some oak logs for some support beams here that'll support on a level that'll be 1 block out. And to give it just that little extra texture, I'm going to add some buttons on every single one of them. And I'm going to grab all of these gray blocks that I have along with some of the pale oak. And I'm going to create some wooden beams here that'll go across the tops and bottoms, going every single other one. But for now, I'm going to alternate between the pale oak and the acacia logs, making sure the pale oak logs are facing up and the acacia logs are facing sideways, as the beams here are supposed to be going up and the ones on the bottom will be going down. But to give it a little bit more lighter tone, I'm going to use some pale oak and some tuff that'll go up into some more pale wood here. And I'm just going to do this texturing for every single pillar here. In between them though, I do want to start adding in some of the pale moss, where this one will just end up having a window, so I'm going to use a trapdoor here and skip that for now. I continued around with the acacia and pale moss framing for the sort of Tudor style building. The wooden framing I think looks so good and is really common in medieval architecture. And I know spruce doesn't necessarily blend in with all of this stuff, but I do want to add some spruce signs here on the bottom, just for a little bit of extra trim. I added in some more texturing here with some spruce bits, but there is a second level right here. All I really have to do now is just continue this same design, but I do want to make this top section go up again just 1 more block out to give it some extra depth here at the top. With this type of architecture, something I also noticed is that the builds have multiple sections where the building juts out a bit, especially going up, so I made sure to do that here, where now I'm adding in an extension on the outside of the building, adding in another city banner, and doing the exact same thing on the other side. With the building in, I started adding in that same black stone and deep slate roof. It doesn't contrast too much with the other sides of the building, but against the pale moss, I think it looks really good for a dark roof design. I struggled coming up with a block palette for this build, but recently I've loved using a big contrast of light and dark tones for my buildings. And yeah, I'm really liking the way that this is looking right now. Before I do any more building though, I have to do like my 100th trip to the gunpowder farm this episode, and I have to repair up my elytra. I ran the gunpowder farm for a little bit to restock my rockets and also repaired all of my tools. I'm starting the next phase of this project, which is actually just a callback to when I was terraforming at the beginning of the video, because I have a lot more terraforming to do. The city gate will have a wall that stretches around the landscape, and for that I need to clear out an area to actually build the thing. So I have to push back 10 to 15 layers of dirt and stone so I can begin building. I'm not starting on the wall yet because I have to mirror exactly what I did for the city gate on the other side, so it's not just a 2-dimensional shape. This allowed me to connect the roof around the entire build and complete the entrance. With this finally done though, there is one little detail that I want to add here, and that uses some polished black stone buttons and some black candles. And by tiny detail, I literally mean tiny, as I'm just going to put some buttons and some candles on top of here. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. I honestly don't even know if you'll be able to tell that this is here from a distance. I mean, you kind of can, but I just wanted to add it because I like using candles and I wanted an excuse to use candles. But there it is. I think it's looking so nice now. And if I just fly around it, it's actually cool. And it's a complete building except here where the wall is going to be. There will be a massive city here eventually, and this will be the city entrance, the city gate. Another detail I can add here in the front does require a little bit of iron and a campfire. By a little bit of iron, I mean an anvil. I should have a ton of anvils laying around here somewhere. I need some polished deep slate walls and some normal polished deep slate as well. And because I love using rockets, I'm going to fly over here, and I need some dark oak signs. All of these blocks will be used to make a torch that'll sit right here in the entrance using a polished deep slate wall, an anvil, a full polished deep slate block, and a campfire, with some dark oak signs around it here at the base. And that's it. And I think that looks really nice. Especially once it's dark outside, you can easily spot the city entrance. And I think for a torch design, that's not bad. That's not bad. Now it's time to get started on the actual wall. I'm not going to do that side, but I'm going to do this side. It'll go all the way down here towards where the ocean is. But I'm going to first remove the beacon. And now I can get started on the actual wall. The wall uses the same blocks that I used for the base of the gate, which is just the lighter tones, the cobblestones, andesite, and occasionally some light gray wool for highlights. Closer to the top, I want to transition into some shadows using tuff and acacia. We're up here at the top. I want to create, I think it's called a battlement, using some diorite stairs. Up here, there's a line of cobbled deep slate that'll end right here, and will alternate going up like this. And this is what the battlement is this type of castle tower design. And so I'm going to put some stairs in between all of these, and I'm actually going to remove these slabs for now. They can shoot their arrows from it or whatever, you know, see through it. And on top of every single upside down stair like that, I'm going to be putting some blackstone buttons as well, just for that little bit of extra texture. Now the buttons are hardly noticeable, but it does create that tiny bit of texture. Now that I have the wall design figured out, I'm continuing the deep slate tile base down the hillside and working up with the walls. To make the wall look a lot better, it slowly slopes down the hill instead of being at one flat level. Things like this can make the build look significantly more interesting, which is exactly what I have to think about, as I really want to be happy with the end result. So I'm trying not to make too many building mistakes along the way. Right now, I have the wall pretty much complete, so I want to start on a bell tower. I gave it a strong base using the deep slate tiles around it and worked up with the same light tones I use on the city wall. I wanted an excuse to use lodestones, so I also put them on the edges of the tower. I wrapped some stained glass around as well to give it some further detail and continued building up the tower. At the top of the tower, I continued the same battlement idea I had for the wall, using pale oak fences, diorite walls and stairs, and some pale oak trapdoors, and I wrapped this around the entire thing. Now that I have the tower in place, I want to make a bell tower here, so another extension of the tower. So I'm going to start going around with some polished tuff around the edge. With that in place, I'm going to smooth it a little bit using a tuff wall, and I'm going to go up with some more tuff walls to create some windows here on the corners. This will go up into a couple full blocks and a stair to give it a arch right here at the top. And to round it even more up here, I'm going to use another tuff wall. So this is kind of what you're going to get on the corners of the build to create the windows of this bell tower. I don't want it to be super open though, so I am going to go through with some spruce trapdoors to close it off just a little bit here. I wanted to give the bell tower windows all around it as you traditionally see from them, so using the mix of walls and trapdoors around the build gave it some openings around the entire thing. I'm not sure exactly why bell towers traditionally have so many openings. My guess is to let the sound of the bell travel out of the actual building area. Logic aside, I'm completing the tower by adding in the roof, which uses dark oak for the trim and goes up very simply with some blackstone. This roof design is very simple, but I am going to use some stained glass as a way of giving it a little bit more shape and also some color and texture here using some brown stained glass and some black stained glass to give it some curve, but also blend the brown stained glass in. And this will be pretty noticeable from a distance. You won't really be able to tell once it's up here, but this will just make it look like there is the dark oak going up without there actually being the dark oak going up. But up here at the top, I'm just going to use a wall, a fence, and I want to use some fence gates here to give this tower a little bit of shape here at the top with a chain on top of it. And I can remove this glass pane and do the same thing with the glass panes on every single side. And this should do it. Now, if you look at the tower from a distance, if I'm not blocking it, it looks so nice. There is almost no shape with the actual blackstone that I use, but the stained glass with the brown streak down the middle blends in with the dark oak, and the other glass gives that little bit of curve. And then I added that at the top. I don't even know what it is. It just gives the tower a little bit more character. But I do actually want to put a bell in here. This bell design is pretty simple. I'm going to use 2 full blackstone blocks in the middle and curve it using some walls. And I'm going to connect it at the bottom with some glass pane to also make it go up gradually from the edge as well. And I'm just going to do this around every single side with a slab on top and some slabs underneath the walls. So there is a very, very simple bell design, but I really love it. But it is floating, so I'm going to add something that will support it and make it stand up here using some slabs and trapdoors. From down below, this will look a little bit nicer. And to make it so that I can actually ring the bell, I'm going to put a fence with a lightning rod on the bottom of it. And then I want to use some acacia trapdoors who look like some gears or like a rope. So there, with the ceiling in place, I also extended this part on the other side as well. And it is just looking so cool in here. I mean, they can just pull this down, it'll ring the bell whenever, I don't know, people are attacking the city or whenever an event in the city is happening or something. I don't know, but I do really want to add bell towers throughout the city. I have everything involving the city entrance nearly complete. I just need to add one last little detail. Lore-wise, the soldiers who would be up here can't use these barrels, but in-game, there's a lot of storage up here. This is like a whole storage room. But I did use the underside of the barrel texture mixed in with some other spruce components, and it looks pretty nice up here. With that final touch, though, we now have a city gate and a bell tower with a wall connecting them. And this is just the start of a project that will take many years to complete, but it is just looking so cool. I absolutely love it. There's only one thing missing, and that's an actual gate to prevent people from entering the city whenever it's under attack, or something like that. But since we're in Minecraft, it's mostly just used to look cool. Seeing the light behind it, it actually just looks like they connect, and it just looks so cool. With the city walls past us, I'm starting the foundation for another farmhouse just outside the city walls. I want to feature some lighter tones for this house, so I'm going to work up with some diorite, as well as some of the mushroom stems that I've also been using for the lighter tones on the city gate, while also working up with some of the oak logs. I also want to leave space for a window right here, and I'm going to go with the window that has a little bit more depth here with the scaffolding on the inside. And I'm going to work up with more of those lighter tones. And to mix in all of these different white tones, I'm going to use some pale oak signs. And I also want to add a window right here as well. And a window shutter, this time being left open. And to further frame the entire build, I'm going to use some spruce signs here at the bottom. If a build lacks detail for you, just add signs. It does create a lot of detail to a build. I've repeated this around the other side, but I do have something a little bit different that I want to do for this side. Again, using the other side of the barrel texture, like I did for the floor of the city wall. And this will go up 3 blocks, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side as well. Another kind of hidden, but not really hidden, but just underutilized texture, I'm also going to use some spruce trapdoors here. I'm going to go up with some dark oak logs and some spruce logs. Dark oak for the frame and spruce for the main part. And I also want to frame the build, or I guess reinforce the build down here with some buttons. And because I can't help it, I'm going to put signs back here as well to kind of hide that side of the barrel texture just a little bit. Now for the next part of the build, I'm going to need to craft up a few mud brick stairs. This part of the build is very simple. I'm just going to use some jungle mud brick and spruce stairs to go up on this section. This gives the build a little bit of extra shape, but right here I want to create the entrance to the build, so I'm going to put some cobblestone stairs right here and a space for a mangrove door. I'm going to go up with some spruce fences and I'm going to use some temporary blocks, and I'm going to frame it using some oak trapdoors, and I'm going to open them up. For now, I'm going to extend the height of this fence by a block and connect it to the build using some fence gates. I'm going to use slabs at the back, and I'm going to use some trapdoors and campfires at the front of it. We have the pathway that goes up here, and then they have this little awning section and a little balcony before they go into their immediate window. With all of the other details of the house in place, all I need to do is add in a roof. Now with the house done, I do want to add a little chicken coop out here in front because I don't really have a bunch of spaces for animals in this world. There is a couple things I need though, and that, well, first of all, I want to bring some chickens over here. Good thing is, there's probably some up there somewhere. Yeah, there's one right there. Okay. Now I could just get the normal chicken, but I kind of want to get one of the new chicken variants out of the cold biome. I don't really know where to go for that, but I want to find a new chicken. I have this mini-map mod that will show you what chunks you've explored. I don't think I've explored too much down here, so I think that's where I'm going to be heading. I want to get the cold chicken because the warm chicken, it just doesn't look good. This area looks pretty new. I know I haven't explored this place, but there's some cows over here that aren't the cold cows. This place looks so unfamiliar. There's no way I've explored over here. There's some cold pigs over here. They look naked. They look naked. I kind of want to bring these guys home. There's only two. What happened to the third one? What happened to this log? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let me just build up with a ton of dirt here and fly these guys home, similar to what I did last episode. Why are they jumping so high? This looks really bad. This looks really bad. So I have to get from here to over here. I'm hoping this doesn't turn into a disaster. I need these I need these pigs. Did I say chicken? I meant pig. This looks so goofy. But it seems to be working. Can I use a rocket? No. I guess it's just going to be adventure here in the rain, the very loud rain. There is just something so funny to me. No! Oh my god. Forget what I was gonna say. It's like never-ending pain. It never ends. I'm stuck. Help! I'm stuck. Get me out of the boat. God, I'm leading the boat still. What is happening? Get off the boat. No. Get off the boat. No. Get off the boat. Come on, you lazy pig. Get up. And now all I have to do is I'm going to lead them to the house for now. So I'm just going to keep them right here at the front of the house. Now it's just time to do this again, but with some chickens. I need to find some chickens. That's the whole point. I got some pigs. I need chickens. There is some cows up here. Some of the woolly cows. I actually haven't seen these guys in game. These guys look so cool. Their horns are like down though. I like them. I like them. I might get these guys too. But I want to find some chickens. Wait, was that a chicken? It was! Oh, I need another one. Let me see if I can get all of these animals at once. I need to sleep. I think I forgot my bed. Oh my god. There was one more guy over here. I'm just going to take as many as I can. It seems we have a little ravine to cross, fellas. It seems we have a little ravine. Oh my god. Once mobs start spawning, dude, if a creeper takes out the whole pack, I'm going to be so mad. What happens if I just make an absolutely insane amount of boats here? Okay, so this will be my boat. Is everybody in a boat? Is everybody in a boat? Get in the boat. Oh my god. This is so cool. This is amazing. Where's all the leads? I need 8 more leads. What happened to the leads? So I can lead all these boats at once. And now if I hop in this boat... No, I want to... No! Get up! Oh my god. I want to actually get in the boat. How do I get in the boat? Okay. So it seems we have a boat underwater. What is that? If I go underwater, they're all gonna go underwater. So I need to get rid of all these leads. No, 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 no. No, no, no. You're actually gonna be in the boat with me, fella. Alright? I'm gonna take special care of you. Gotta get rid of the lead in my hand. Gotta hop in this boat. And perfect. We now just have to set sail here. I didn't think it could get any better. Now, actually, if I take a left up here, it'll take me all the way to the gate. So let me actually just take a left up here. Skeleton to the left, fellas. Enemy to the left. He was too slow. He was too slow on his draw. All right, we got the chickens here. Well, like I said, I wanted to make a chicken coop here. And the good thing about chickens is they will not hop over trap doors when they are on the other side of the block like this. So if I were to just put these guys in here, they wouldn't go on this side. So I'm just going to do a chicken coop using this trapdoor method. Now that I finally have the chickens in here, I can begin making the chicken coop, which is just a simple building using dark oak trapdoors for the floor, logs on every side going up, and a dark oak slab roof that slopes upwards. Now I do want to give these guys some windows, so I'm going to go around with some mangrove around the outside like this. Now I do want these guys to actually be in here, so I'm going to remove the lead if they would come up. I don't know how to get them in here, please. This rail will prevent them from coming down, I think, and keep them in here, and it just looks cool. So there we have a nice chicken coop right here. It's pretty big, but I really like it. It fits the style of the house perfectly, and there's some cool little chickens in here. To complete the area, I added in some brick walls to frame the pathway that leads to the gate, where now it's time to put those 22,000 flowers I collected to good use, by starting on the first massive flower field, this one being the biggest. It's a field that uses an alternating pattern of alliums and pink tulips. This one alone has nearly 15,000 flowers in it, or at least that's how many I collected for the field. With the field in place, it's lore time, as I'm adding in a very simple tough shrine right in the middle. I don't really know exactly the lore behind these, like, shrines. Maybe they're from fallen kings that used to run the kingdom. Maybe they were here way before this was even made. I'm not too sure. But I do have one detail that I want to add to them that I think will look really cool. Let me get some chains and some lightning rods and some iron bars. There's kind of a cool thing you can do with iron bars and the lightning rod where it will create a sword. It's not like that, it's actually using the other side of the lightning rod texture, if I can get it, like that. And to me, it looks like a sword. I don't know about you guys, but it looks like a long sword. And so the idea, I guess, is to sprinkle these around as maybe people are bringing their sword to, I guess, give a gift to, like, the gods here or the shrines. I'm not sure about the lore behind it, but I think it's a cool effect. Again, I'm drawing a lot of inspiration from, like, dark fantasy art for stuff like this, but I think it looks so cool. There's even one of them that's on the ground. It's floating. I get it, but it looks cool, especially from a distance. You can't really tell, but I do like it. You'd think after building one flower field, I'd build another one, right? Not so fast, as I have another building that I want to put in this empty space before I continue putting more flowers in. This one is pretty much just a combination of all the houses I've made in this episode, except the ruined one, of course, as it uses the exact same blocks for the base and goes up with the same light tones as the last one I built. One thing I noticed is while I added in an overhang on the back of the build, I didn't do that for the front, which looks really stupid, so I'll fix that in the next episode. With that being said, I finished the build by adding in the exact same roof design. In hindsight, I probably would have used a different block palette for this build. With the house done though, I did a little bit of terraforming around the back. Now the goal of this terraforming out here is to make a waterfall that comes from up here, and for some reason there's a ton of animals up here. Somebody told me last episode that animals pathfinding kind of takes them upwards and they've fallen into a hole that they literally can never get out of. And I need to make it so it looks like there's water coming from this cave right here down to here, and there's a cave up here. First, I want to see if I can get these guys up. No, I don't want milk. I want my water back. Okay, I'm gonna put the water bucket right here. There's gonna be so many animals. Oh my god, there's so many animals. And I could fill this up actually to make it look more realistic. In fact, I think I'm gonna try to do that, but I am gonna light it up just in case. I don't want any mobs spawning over here because that would suck. And now we have a nice waterfall with chickens and horses going down. I'm not going to create lore behind why there's chickens going down the mountain, but yeah, hopefully they go away soon because I don't want a chicken waterfall in my world. Since I made this stream of water with the waterfall coming down from the mountain, I want to add a water wheel right here. So I quickly constructed a pretty simple water wheel design. And there we have our water wheel that from over here looks really, really cool attached to the building. I went for a darker tone than I went for the last water wheel. I definitely like the use of grindstones here to connect the bottom. It was a long day of recording, okay? Leave me alone, please. I definitely like the use of grindstones in the build, as it does have that dark oak texture in it as well that I think works perfectly. With the water wheel done, I finished the stream by bringing the water down all the way to the bridge. There we have a stream that goes from the mountains all the way down here. I don't want to finish it yet because I'm not sure what to put over here. I'll get to that once I have the plans for this area laid out because I don't know what to do over here. I do know what I want to do in this space though, and that's add in another flower field, but I forgot to collect cornflowers somehow, so I did that real quick and put in another alternating field of cornflowers and white tulips. Then quickly jumping over to the city gate and creating another field using the red and orange tulips. Who doesn't like the vibe of some nice flower fields that lead to a city gate? This area is pretty much complete. Further expansion will happen. I mostly just wanted the field back there for the thumbnail. It could definitely stretch further, but maybe for the thumbnail I'll change it. Now finally, after many days of building, there's only one detail I want to add, and that is an actual city banner design. The banner design is in. It's not the best. I don't even know what it is. I spent like 2 hours making that. Yep, I did. But I do think it looks significantly better than just the cherry wood. I'm on the road to nearly 2,000 days survived in this hardcore world. To celebrate these last 1,000 days survived, I want to completely transform the End Island into a giant fortress. This will require me to defeat the dragon 19 more times, break all 10 obsidian pillars, and destroy the entire island. I want to first get prepared to defeat the dragon 19 more times, so I'm gathering some much needed materials like gunpowder and paper for rockets. Now I just need to get 76 end crystals, which means I'm going to have to take a trip into the nether. To respawn the dragon, you need 4 end crystals, and I need to do this a total of 19 times. So I first need to get enough blaze powder to make eyes of ender, which is needed for the crafting recipe. I also need just as many ghast tears. This is what happens when you don't want to build automatic farms in your world. You just have to fly around fighting ghasts for like an hour and a half. Switch to my sword to get the looting effect, and there's no ghast tear down here. Okay. Oh look, but 2 more just spawned. And another one. Oh, it almost fell in the fire. We're good though. Ah, my ears. Ow. Now we're up close to a stack. We have 63. I think we just have a little bit left to go. I actually think a stack in 15 is enough, so I'm just going to head on back home now because I don't want to do this any longer, and I think that's enough. And I'm taking a trip on over into the end to get some ender pearls. I don't even have to kill them though. I already have a ton of ender pearls. Perfect. I can just leave. And now it's just time to collect up a bunch of glass. Sadly, I don't think I have any leftover glass anywhere, so I'm actually going to go back into the nether. And there's another portal out this way that should lead me into the desert. And now I just need to avoid all types of hostile mobs and collect some sand. Oh my god, please get away. Phantoms have spawned? After mining up a bit of sand, that is enough, an entire sugar box and 41 left over. Now it's time to visit the city and come on into the amazing super smelter that I have that doesn't even have any coal in it. That's great. There's a ton of clay balls in here. That's where my hoe went. What? Why is that in there? I threw a fit recording last video because I didn't know where I put my hoe, and it was in there. I don't know how it got in there, and I don't know how I ever would have known that it was in there. Anyways, it's time to fill up all these chests with a bunch of sand, but I don't have any coal, so I also need to get some of that too. I already know I have a decent amount of coal laying around here in the mining storage right in the shulker box. There's 27, a stack in here, and let me just take a stack of coal ore with me just in case I need it. Ow. But I'm going to need a little bit more coal. I mined up some more coal in order to smelt more glass that I need for the end crystals. So after the glass was completely smelted up, I started crafting all the end crystals I need, which is over 70. And I think that's enough end crystals now to start defeating the dragon, but I think there's just a little bit more prep that I have to do first. I actually do want to craft up a decent amount of bottles in order to collect some dragon's breath, and I want to make a ton of beds because it might make this go by a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to need to collect up a little bit of spruce wood as well to craft it down into beds. Honestly, 2 shulker boxes of beds might be enough. Now I'll say I'm pretty much good to go and fight the dragon 19 times. I don't think I've ever used this method of to defeat the ender dragon, but I'm actually just gonna try it. I'm gonna give it a try. I might kill myself on accident. I might, but I don't know. It'll be okay. I'll live, hopefully. Hey, if I die in this video, I'd rather die here, not later on. I forgot to grab the carved pumpkin, but I'm just going to try it without the carved pumpkin, and hopefully I don't die to Enderman. Actually, you know what? Okay, if I remember correctly, you just place them around the bedrock like that. Yeah, that's extremely loud. Like everything in this game, it has to be so loud. One more hit. No. This dude has literally no health. Oh my god. And he won't die. He's indestructible. Okay. First time is done. That hurt a little bit. Those guys just got so messed up. And now the second dragon is also defeated. And the third dragon is also dead. I forgot which one I was on. I don't remember what number that is. And this is the last dragon finally defeated. Only popped about 5 totems. And we're good to destroy the end island now. I plan on making my own custom end island entirely out of basalt. It's modeled after the actual end island I already have, but I figured it would be much easier if I just destroyed it all. The first step is to destroy the obsidian pillars, so I started placing a beacon to get the haste 2 effect to speed up the process. This pillar alone took me well over 3 hours. After many hours of work, this is now the last piece of obsidian that I have to mine. Finally, I'm done with the first pillar. Oh my god, that took so long. And just over 3 shulker boxes of obsidian. And there's still 9 other towers. So it's time to dig again. This second pillar was noticeably smaller, but it doesn't really matter as this pillar still took me almost 2 hours to destroy. Luckily, I started rewatching Game of Thrones to help me get through it. Each pillar takes 2 to 3 hours. I couldn't imagine doing this without a second monitor. At this point, I had already spent about a day and a half just mining obsidian, and I'm not even halfway done. With a good amount of the towers destroyed, I'm getting ready to start destroying the island while I destroy the pillars. So it's time to collect materials to build a TNT flying machine. There is a shulker box in the mine storage room that has a little bit of redstone in it that I'm just going to take. I do need a little bit of glass, and I actually have a decent amount here, so I'm just going to take, I think I need 7. In this shulker box, I have enough TNT, and I have a little bit more redstone dust. I need a couple detector rails. I need a little bit of glowstone, and I need a few pistons and observers. The last 2 items I need are a couple coral fans, and I need 38 slime blocks. In my inventory, I have enough slime blocks to make 4, and I only have 8 slime balls left over. So this could be a problem, as I don't really know if I have any slime balls just laying around here anywhere. I actually do have some coral fans just laying here, and I need them to be dead. Because I needed so many slime balls, I took a trip over to the swamp and waited for it to turn night. Okay, I need like 5 stacks of slime balls, so it's time to start killing these guys. This is going to take a while. I could have definitely spent the time on making a slime farm instead of running around a swamp for an hour, but I really don't enjoy making automatic farms, and I already know I'm going to have to make many for this episode. And I'm trying to save my energy for the actual materials and building process. Now, this gives me enough slime blocks to make the TNT duper, and I can go home now. I definitely want to go home now, as you can tell. With all of the materials gathered, there is just a couple things I have to craft left, and that is 2 minecarts. And now I can head back to the end and get started. I took another trip to the end to make the TNT duper that will hopefully destroy the island for me. Now, all I have to do is break this block and it should run. So let me see, please. Yeah. While the machine is running and destroying the island, it's time to mine some more obsidian. Yeah, the machine is running and I'm mining obsidian, but the machine is actually heading away from the island and towards my Enderman farm, which is not what I want. The good news is I caught myself before this could have turned into a disaster. So that's good, but I am so stupid. I am such a moron. Really don't want any of these blocks to fall into the void, so let me just place some blocks down here and build a platform for the blocks to fall on. And now I should be able to just... No. Why? Nothing can ever be easy. I'll be honest, I am not having fun right now. I hope this machine works. Please, thank you. I'm about done. I've crashed out multiple times today. I just want this to be over with. This part sucks. I hate it. But hopefully this runs and I don't have any more issues with this project. So let me just do what I was doing and destroy some obsidian. After many struggles with the TNT duper, I started mining obsidian again, but my suffering never ends. I left out a few pieces of redstone in the machine, and it sat completely stationary while I worked. With that being said, I did destroy another pillar, which took me multiple hours. I ended up fixing the machine and got started on another pillar while the machine ran in the background. After a bit more obsidian mining, I sat AFK while the machine destroyed a good chunk of the island. The machine ran for another few hours while I sat AFK. Giving myself a break from mining obsidian was definitely needed, but I completely forgot about the bedrock located on top of the obsidian pillars from before, and it exploded the machine. Yeah, I didn't really think about this bedrock that much. I was so focused on it not landing on top of the portals over here that it landed on the bedrock and it exploded the machine. So before I even get started on rebuilding the machine, I'm gonna have to go through and break all of these pieces of bedrock, and that will require a decent amount of materials to do so. First, I need to gather a decent amount of sand to make some TNT. I'm going to need some trapdoors for this as well, so I'm just going to grab the cherry wood that I have, and I'm going to make a decent amount of those. The last thing I need to get is pistons, and I'm going to be honest, I have absolutely no redstone in this world, so I need to go mine some. Just going to take a trip on over to the mining village and down this hole. Where in the deep slate mine I have, there's a ton of redstone waiting to be mined up. And that should be enough redstone to make the pistons that I need. After crafting up the rest of the materials I needed to break bedrock, I started making the bedrock breaking machine, and I broke the first piece of bedrock. The first piece of bedrock is broken. That was actually the first try. I broke the first piece of bedrock and remade the machine, so now it's time to destroy the rest of the bedrock around the island. Yeah, I lost the world. I actually just recreated my death because I didn't record it at the time. I was just in such shock that I had to recreate it because I did spectate world instead. But let me just go through what happened. I'm just gonna use the flashback mod to slowly go through exactly what happened here. I was attempting to break bedrock, and I was using an auto clicker to do so, and I tried to do some little elytra parkour thing to get on top of the bedrock. I was about a block and a half off, and I had my chest plate equipped, but you can see me holding my elytra, right? Because I had an auto clicker enabled, wasn't able to switch back to my elytra. And you can even see me switch to my rockets because I did switch to my elytra, or at least I thought, but since the auto clicker was enabled, it clicked many times, and by the time I even realized I had my chest plate on still, I was at minus 102, and by the time I started flying, I was minus 123. If you guys don't know, I think minus 64 is where the end starts killing you, and I died just shy of that. So pretty much what happened was an auto clicker that I had enabled to break bedrock easier prevented me from switching back to my elytra, and by the time I realized, it was too late. So I fell all the way down here in this hole that I broke from the obsidian, and I died. I was about halfway done destroying the end island. All I had to do was break these obsidian pillars and the bedrock, and I was gonna start building. Since I have no way of completing this video, I do want to show you guys what I had planned for it, and it was this. This is a recreation of something in Elden Ring. I'm sure you guys can kind of tell what it is, but this is what I had planned for this episode. It was absolutely crazy, and I'll never be able to do it. There's a giant cathedral of sorts in the middle of the island that I made out of basalt. It even had a throne room and the portal in here. I spent so much time making this. There was a bridge that connected it, and some other towers that were floating that were broken. There was a bunch of rocks. There was these like crystals that were supposed to be like giant dragon scales that fell on the island. And I had many plans for this space. I was going to expand it and make it absolutely massive, but I guess not. I didn't clip my live reaction to me dying because it happened literally within 5 seconds. It was such a fast, like it just happened so fast. I could not clip my reaction. If you want my recreation of it, I can do that real quick. No. Yeah, that was a pretty bad recreation of what happened, but that is precisely what happened. I fell into the void, and I tried to escape it. Yep, it took my world. When I would see a pink sheep in this world, I was like, you know, how many days is it going to take? And right now we're on day 24. I've just been gathering materials, and here it is, the guy. Right as I was thinking about him, he's right here. Let's go! Let's go! Talk to pink sheep. How you doing up there? I'm sorry to do this to you, pink sheep. Look away. Oh my god. I think I'm done. It doesn't look that great over here because there's no base. I'm going to have to put that in. It's so funny to me. No! Chucky! Oh my god! He's rare. He's a nice little hat on. Chicken? Oh no. Why does everybody leave me? They like to feed. Oh my god. Let me just step back. It looks so cool here. I know I'm only on day 1656, but I plan on keeping this world forever.